Chapter 1949. Challenging the Formations. Chapter 1949. Challenging the Formation. The Mirage Eye doesn't seem to be able to sense any activity within the 10 Absolute Formation. Su Zimo thought for a moment and asked. Tianxing nodded. The 10 Absolute Formation is isolated from the world and even the Mirage Eye can't see through it. Su Zimo nodded to himself. With that, he no longer had to worry. No matter what methods he used to challenge the formation, nothing would be exposed. Of course, up till now, he had not thought of any solution. I'll return this pair of daggers to you. Su Zimo took out the dark daggers from his storage bag and threw them to Tianxing. You a euro. This time round, even Tianxing was stunned. Her most precious personal dermic treasure was returned just like that. Initially, Su Zimo had intended to take the dark daggers for himself. It was only right for him to punish Tianxing a little for her failed assassination attempt on him. However, now that he guessed that there was a high chance Tianxing was here to help the Thunder Emperor, he could no longer bully her. Furthermore, although the dark daggers were sharp, they did not improve him much. If he took the pair of daggers, he would most likely just throw them into his storage bag and gradually forget about them. I'm not used to these daggers, so it's better to return them to you, Su Zimo said indifferently. After a long silence, Tianxing raised her head and said in a serious manner, I owe you 2 favors. I'll definitely return them to you in the future. Su Zimo smiled and waved it off, heading out of the cave. Fellow Taoist. Suddenly, Tianxing called out to Su Zimo, if you want to avoid the Mirage Eye, why don't you come over and hide beneath my black umbrella? There's no need. Rest well and recuperate. Farewell. After saying that, Su Zimo suddenly vanished and transformed into a butterfly that fluttered into the forest. 72 transformations. Tianxing's heart skipped a beat. How many more tricks does this person have that I don't know about? Even if I'm outside and my bloodline has recovered with my combat strength at its peak, I might not be a match for this person still. What's his motive for coming to the 10 Absolute Hell? Tianxing realized that the more she interacted with Su Zimo, the more she could not read him. The person seemed to be shrouded by a layer of fog and was unfathomable. A euro. Su Zimo left Tianxing and flew towards the 10 Absolute Formation. Although Tianxing failed, he did not give up. Before long, Su Zimo returned to the front of the Flood Formation. At that moment, the Flood Formation had already returned to normal and was filled with mist that was unpredictable. Su Zimo did not linger and continued around the 10 Absolute Formations. After a while, he arrived before another Immortal Formation. The Immortal Formation was red and emitted waves of heat. If he was not wrong, the Immortal Formation before him should be the Raging Flame Formation. Raging Flame Formation. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he pondered. The glint in his eyes intensified. Perhaps I can give this Immortal Formation a try. Pondering for a moment, a look of determination flashed through Su Zimo's eyes as he summoned the Hell Suppression Tripod and threw it into the Raging Flame Formation. Phew! The moment the Hell Suppression Tripod entered the Raging Flame Formation, flames ignited within. As though they had gone mad, the flames surged towards the Hell Suppression Tripod, wanting to devour and burn this foreign object into ashes. One of the walls of the Hell Suppression Tripod suddenly emitted a faint glow. The moment the flames arrived around the Hell Suppression Tripod, they were absorbed by the wall and vanished before long. The wall of the tripod devoured all the surrounding flames. Su Zimo's eyes lit up when he saw that. Success! The wall of the tripod was the side where the vermilion bird's sacred soul was sleeping. The vermilion bird was of the fire attribute and was a sacred spirit of the flames. Any flame would have to bow down in the face of the vermilion bird's sacred soul. In a flash, Su Zimo charged into the Raging Flame Formation. Now that there was another foreign object, the Raging Flame Formation produced flames that burned towards Su Zimo with a massive might. However, before the flames could approach Su Zimo, they were absorbed by the vermilion bird's sacred soul on the wall of the Hell Suppression Tripod. Su Zimo was delighted. With the help of the vermilion bird's sacred soul on the Hell Suppression Tripod, he could survive the Raging Flame Formation even without hiding in the tripod. The Hell Suppression Tripod hovered above his head and the surrounding flames would be absorbed by the wall the moment they approached. Initially, the vermilion bird's sacred soul on the wall of the Hell Suppression tripod had already fallen asleep after the battle on the Dragon Abyss star. But now, with the endless replenishment of the raging flame formation, the vermilion bird's sacred soul was showing signs of awakening. Su Zimo took a deep breath of air and headed towards the depths of the raging flame formation with a firm gaze as the Hell Suppression tripod hovered above his head. City Lord's residence. There seemed to be some activity outside the 10 Absolute Hell earlier on. Suddenly, the City Lord of Absolute Thunder City said, "The 5 poison black immortals died there." Perfected Immortal Jingyu shook his head gently. "I'm not sure." Most of his attention was still placed near Su Zimo's initial cave. Prince Yuanzhua looked in the direction of the 10 Absolute Hell and his eyes flickered. "Jingyu, there shouldn't be any problem with the 10 Absolute formation, right?" he suddenly asked. Perfected Immortal Jingyu smiled. "Don't worry, Your Highness. The 10 Absolute formation has been set up for hundreds of thousands of years without any flaws." Back then, a perfected Immortal Formation Grandmaster wanted to challenge the formation but was trapped to death inside. Prince Yuanzhua said deeply, "Back in the 9 Firmament Immortal domain, that person was like the sun in the midday skies and his reputation was unparalleled. He had many followers who had not given up all these years." Perfected Immortal Jingyu said, "His followers have been mostly killed by King Tianxing and the execution guards over the years. 10,000 years ago, his son was killed by the prince personally. Those nobodies are nothing to fear. If nothing happens, that would be for the best." Prince Yuanzhua nodded. Perfected Immortal Jingyu smiled. "Your Highness, don't forget that this person's Dao fruit was completely crippled back then. Even if he can escape, he won't be able to cause much trouble. Furthermore, perfected immortals have a lifespan of 500,000 years. Now, that person's lifespan is about to be exhausted. An old man in his twilight years with a crippled Dao fruit is nothing to fear." Prince Yuanzhua gradually relaxed. However, his attention was still fixed on the 10 Absolute formation from time to time. For some reason, he felt his heart skip a beat, as though a calamity was about to descend. "Is there still nothing from Su Zimo?" he suddenly asked. Perfected Immortal Jingyu said, "Your Highness, that person is still hiding in this cave. I wonder what he's doing inside. This person sure is patient." Prince Yuanzhua harumphed coldly. At that moment, even perfected Immortal Jingyu did not want to pay attention to Su Zimo anymore. The many city lords and exalted immortals in the city lord's residence did not realize that the ant, low-life and unassuming nobody in their eyes had already entered the 10 Absolute formation. As for that butterfly, there was a high chance that its wings could cause a shocking storm in Absolute Thunder City, or even the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom. Chapter 1950. Feng Cantian. Chapter 1950. Feng Cantian. 10 Absolute Hell. Raging Flame Formation. Under the protection of the Hell Suppression tripod, Su Zimo advanced continuously and walked further and further. As the Hell Suppression tripod devoured more flames, the aura of the vermilion bird's sacred soul became stronger and more terrifying. Its life force circulated and could awaken at any moment. Although the Hell Suppression tripod could absorb the surrounding flames within the raging flame formation, the temperature within was still unimaginable. If not for the Green Lotus true body, his blood qi would have been burned dry long ago. Su Zimo's body emitted steam and his lips were already dry. In fact, there was no sweat left in his body. His vision turned blurry. Even so, Su Zimo had no intention of retreating. He locked the blood qi in his body with his powerful will and spirit consciousness and braced himself, advancing towards the center of the 10 Absolute formation with a resolute gaze. After a long time, Su Zimo took a step forward and the scorching heat around him suddenly vanished. "Have I cleared it?" Su Zimo knelt on the ground and panted heavily, trying his best to open his eyes and look ahead. His initially blurry vision gradually became clearer. Right in front of him was a tall and thick stone pillar with 10 gigantic chains that soared through the air. The chains were attached to the 10 immortal formations on one end and coiled around the gigantic stone pillar on the other. To be precise, the 10 chains bound a person firmly to the stone pillar. From afar, the person's body was withered and skinny. His hair was long and messy, covering his face like a pile of dried weeds. Was this the Thunder Emperor? Rising slowly, Su Zimo looked at the figure on the stone pillar in a daze, and a hint of sadness flashed through his heart. That high-spirited and invincible expert of the past was suppressed here for hundreds of thousands of years without seeing daylight for the sake of the lower worlds. His skin was dry like rough bark that had long lost its luster. His body was so skinny that his bones could be seen clearly. This once supreme perfected immortal no longer had his former glory. The figure's head was slumped and his aura was weak. In fact, no one even knew if he was alive. Who would have imagined that the number one of the heaven and earth rankings, the supreme perfected immortal whose name shook the 9 Firmament immortal domain, would fall to such a tragic state? That was hundreds of thousands of years. Notwithstanding the loneliness over the years, even the mental torture of watching living beings of the lower worlds kill one another at every hunting meet was enough to crush a person completely. Prior to this, Su Zimo had a sliver of hope. He hoped that a miracle might happen. He hoped that the Thunder Emperor might be able to break free from his shackles and return to the world. However, the moment he saw the Thunder Emperor, Su Zimo realized that the latter might not be around anymore. The person before him was a scrawny old man in his twilight years. Taking a deep breath of air, Su Zimo walked towards the stone pillar. No matter what, as long as the Thunder Emperor was still breathing, even if he was a cripple, he had to do his best to save the latter. Arriving before the stone pillar, Su Zimo shuddered and his eyes widened. There was a cold saber on the Thunder Emperor's chest that pierced his body and pinned him to the stone pillar, rendering him immobile. The blood around the wound on his chest had already dried up and some pitch-black blood clots could be seen. Not only was the Thunder Emperor locked here by 10 chains, he was even nailed by the saber for hundreds of thousands of years. Su Zimo could no longer imagine the pain the Thunder Emperor was enduring. Senior Thunder Emperor. Su Zimo called out softly with a trembling voice. A long time later, as though he had just heard Su Zimo's voice, the Thunder Emperor's head moved slightly and he raised it slowly. The Thunder Emperor opened his eyes slowly among the messy withered hair. It was as though the first light after the creation of the world had pierced through the darkness. His eyes flashed with lightning that was berserk and almost surged out. Su Zimo's eyes contained 2 divine stones, illumination and nether glow. However, the moment he met the Thunder Emperor's eyes, he felt a sharp pain. Su Zimo was shocked. Those eyes seemed to contain endless power. It was the wrath of thunder. In that moment, Su Zimo even had an illusion. It was as though the power contained in those eyes could kill him with ease. The fact that his eyes possessed such might was proof of the Thunder Emperor's peerless glory in the past. When he saw that it was Su Zimo, the Thunder Emperor seemed to be surprised as well, and the lightning in his eyes gradually calmed down. Even so, those eyes possessed a domineering power that could burst forth at any moment. "It was you," the Thunder Emperor said. "You actually cleared the 10 Absolute Formation?" "I was only lucky to clear the Raging Flame Formation with the help of a treasure." Su Zimo was delighted when he saw that the Thunder Emperor was alive and said hurriedly. The Thunder Emperor raised his eyes slightly and looked at the bronze tripod above Su Zimo's head before retracting his gaze. Su Zimo bowed deeply to the Thunder Emperor and said in a deep voice, "Senior Thunder Emperor, I'm Su Zimo. Thank you for imparting the Void Thunder Manual to me." "Thunder Emperor, Thunder Emperor." The Thunder Emperor murmured softly, as though he was reminiscing. A moment later he said, "There's no Thunder Emperor in the upper world. My name is Feng Cantian." It was only now that Su Zimo knew the Thunder Emperor's true name. The Thunder Emperor said, "I won't be able to last long being trapped here. I no longer have any regrets after imparting the cultivation technique to you." "Senior, has your Tao fruit truly?" Su Zimo wanted to speak but stopped. When he saw the lightning in the Thunder Emperor's eyes earlier on, a trace of hope ignited in his heart. Perhaps the Thunder Emperor's Tao fruit was still around. "It's shattered." The Thunder Emperor's voice was calm as his spirit consciousness moved, sending a shattered Tao fruit fragment out of his consciousness. Su Zimo finally gave up completely when he saw that. Back then, Dai Yu gave him a complete Tao fruit of King Yun Yu's clone. However, the Tao fruit was with a martial Tao prime body. Furthermore, even if he had a complete Tao fruit, it could not help the Thunder Emperor recover his cultivation. Tao fruits were the essence of a cultivator's lifetime of cultivation. Although it could be absorbed and refined, 2 completely different Tao fruits could not replace one another. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, Senior, it's fine if you lose your Dao fruit. Since I can arrive here, I can naturally take you away as well. The Thunder Emperor shook his head gently. I'm bound by the 10 absolute chains. Furthermore, I can't escape with this saber nailed to my body. That saber was clearly not an ordinary item. Even after hundreds of thousands of years, it was still cold and sharp. The 10 absolute chains that the Thunder Emperor mentioned should be the 10 gigantic and thick chains on his body. Senior, endure it. I'll help you pull out that saber. Taking a deep breath of air, Su Zimo took a step forward and gripped the handle of the saber with both hands. Don't touch that saber. The Thunder Emperor's expression changed as he said hurriedly. Chapter 1951. Weapon Spirit Fight. Chapter 1951. Weapon Spirit Fight. It was already too late the moment the Thunder Emperor's voice sounded. Su Zimo's hands were already gripping the handle of the saber. He shuddered and his eyes widened. At that moment, countless killing scenes appeared before his eyes. Blood chi filled the air and many tragic tortures surged into his mind. His head felt like it was about to explode. Su Zimo had never felt such a terrifying killing intent from a saber. The berserk power of the saber surged into Su Zimo's body and rampaged, destroying life wherever it passed. Instantly, the surface of Su Zimo's body split open and a blood mist burst forth. Ah! Unable to endure the pain, Su Zimo roared into the skies with a menacing expression and his features contorted. Boom! Su Zimo's consciousness was in chaos. The Creation Lotus platform spun continuously and released a green glow. 81 green lotus seeds circled around the green lotus essence spirit, forming a barrier that isolated the invading killing chi. Su Zimo could no longer conceal his green lotus bloodline and released it completely. Beams of rich green light acted on the wounds and released a tremendous amount of life force to repair them. However, the power of the saber was way too ferocious. Even the green lotus true body could not defend against it. His current resistance merely bought some time. The Thunder Emperor was even more surprised. He had been pinned to the stone pillar by the saber for hundreds of thousands of years and no one knew better than him how terrifying it was. That was King Tianxing's weapon, the true execution saber. Every single execution guard wielded an execution saber. However, those execution sabers were merely replicas of this saber and only looked the same. Even heaven immortals would have difficulty escaping unscathed from the execution saber before them, let alone a black immortal. However, the young man before him was not killed by the execution saber right away. In the Thunder Emperor's vision, Su Zimo's figure had already turned blurry, and in his place was a jade green lotus that soared into the skies. The lotus stem was upright and its leaves were crystalline. A single sway from it seemed like it could shake the world. Creation Green Lotus. The Thunder Emperor's gaze intensified as he recognized the origin of the green lotus. Let go! The Thunder Emperor hollered. Although he was trapped and could not move, he released a powerful spirit consciousness that struck Su Zimo's chest. Bang! Su Zimo was sent flying and his hands left the execution saber. Su Zimo spat out a huge mouthful of blood. Although the entire process sounded slow, in reality, only an instant had passed before the Thunder Emperor saved him. However, even at that moment, the execution saber caused immense damage to him. Lad, are you crazy? The Thunder Emperor hollered softly. Hurry and leave this place. Clang. Suddenly, the execution saber trembled gently, as though it was excited. This is bad. The weapon spirits of this saber have awakened. The Thunder Emperor had a grim expression. Damn it! Su Zimo cursed and held the hell suppression tripod. He glared at the execution saber and grit his teeth. At most, I'll use the hell suppression tripod to devour this lousy saber. The Thunder Emperor frowned. This is King Tianxing's execution saber, a grotto heaven spirit treasure that contains endless punishment and killing power. The lousy tripod in your hands can't defend against it at all. You have the Green Lotus bloodline. If you can cultivate a grade 12 creation Green Lotus, you might have a chance to save me. Hurry and leave now. The Thunder Emperor was not wrong. However, there was something he did not say. He did not know how long it would take for Su Zimo to cultivate to the grade 12 creation Green Lotus. He might not be able to last till then. Clang! Right then, the execution saber sounded once more. Suddenly, two phantom sabers burst forth from the saber. One represented punishment and the other represented killing as they slashed towards Su Zimo. It's over. The Thunder Emperor sighed internally. The weapon spirits in the execution saber had been asleep for hundreds of thousands of years and were now completely awake. The pair of weapon spirits were born from King Tianxing and were incomparably violent. They would definitely not let Su Zimo leave alive. The two weapon spirits of the execution saber were filled with killing intent and charged towards Su Zimo excitedly. Su Zimo knew how powerful it was and shielded the hell suppression tripod in front of him hurriedly. Clang! The two phantom sabers struck the hell suppression tripod with a sharp sound. The Thunder Emperor narrowed his eyes slightly. Under normal circumstances, there was no way that battered bronze tripod could defend against the power of the execution saber's weapon spirits. However, when the weapon spirits of the execution saber stood on the bronze tripod earlier on, they were repelled. Sensing the killing intent, one of the walls of the hell suppression tripod shone red. Screech! The sound of a phoenix's cry suddenly sounded, comparable to the sound of the execution saber. Immediately after, a blazing flame surged out of the hell suppression tripod and burned the surrounding void red. The figure of an immortal bird gradually appeared in the flames. The weapon spirit within the bronze tripod is still alive despite its battered state. The Thunder Emperor was even more surprised. This immortal bird was far from the massive body of the phoenix race. When its wings were spread, it was less than 10 feet long. However, it was bathed in flames and exuded an aura that surpassed all living beings. Its gaze was cold and emotionless. Vermilion bird's sacred soul. The Thunder Emperor recognized the origin of the immortal bird right away. The bloodline of the vermilion bird's sacred soul was even superior to the phoenix, and it was the true progenitor god that controlled flames. Hell suppression tripod. That name sounds familiar, as though I've heard of it before. The Thunder Emperor murmured softly, as though he recalled something. A dermic treasure or weapon that could use the vermilion bird as a weapon spirit was definitely not a nameless item. Ding! Screech! Right then, the three weapon spirits were already fighting. The saber beam filled the air and flames surged. Although the vermilion bird's sacred soul was strong, the two weapon spirits of the execution saber were even more ferocious and suppressed the vermilion bird's sacred soul completely. Actually, when Su Zimo heard that the saber was a Grotto Heaven spirit treasure, he had already realized that the hell suppression tripod might not be a match for the other party. It was not because the hell suppression tripod was inferior to the execution saber. It was because the four walls of the hell suppression tripod were only half repaired, and its strength was worlds apart from the Emperor weapons at their peak. Back on the Dragon Abyss Star, even with the help of the Azure Dragon and Vermilion Bird, the hell suppression tripod could only suppress a pure Yang spirit treasure like the God Fiend Soul Summoning Banner. Pure Yang spirit treasures were still considered as perfected immortal weapons. However, Grotto Heaven spirit treasures were immortal king weapons. Given the hell suppression tripod's current capabilities, it could not devour the execution saber even if it did not resist. Back then, the reason why the hell suppression tripod could devour, absorb and refine a Grotto Heaven spirit treasure was because it was destroyed by the black hole in the starry skies. As for the execution saber, although it had slept for hundreds of thousands of years, it was still incomparably violent and sharp. In just a moment, the vermilion bird's sacred soul was severely injured by the two weapon spirits of the execution saber, and it was only a matter of time before it was defeated. If the vermilion bird's sacred soul was defeated, it would fall asleep once more and Su Zimo would lose his greatest backing. Chapter 1952. Breaking Free of the Seal. Chapter 1952. Breaking Free of the Seal. Su Zimo watched everything unfold helplessly. There was no way he could interfere in a battle of this level. Su Zimo, pull out the execution saber. Right then, the Thunder Emperor's voice sounded. Although it was calm, there was an inexplicable power behind it. Su Zimo was severely injured when he tried to withdraw the saber earlier on. However, when he heard the Thunder Emperor's words, he did not hesitate. Taking a deep breath of air, He strode forward and grabbed the execution saber. In midair, the two weapon spirits of the execution saber noticed this as well and suddenly became extremely nervous. They abandoned the vermilion bird's sacred soul that was about to shatter and turned their blades towards Su Zimo. Sensing the killing intent behind him, Su Zimo was delighted instead of alarmed. He realized that there was a high chance that the execution saber was the key. "Stop them!" Su Zimo shouted. The vermilion bird's sacred soul roared and the flames in its body burst forth, charging towards the two saber phantoms. It could not hold on for much longer and its choice this time round was merely a desperate attack to buy time. The moment the three weapon spirits collided, Su Zimo grabbed the execution saber once more. The power of punishment and killing reappeared in his mind and surged into his body. However, because the weapon spirits were not around, the power was much weaker. Ah! Enduring the pain, Su Zimo's eyes widened as he roared. His blood chi surged as he gripped the handle of the execution saber and yanked it outside. The speed of the execution saber's withdrawal was extremely slow. In fact, Su Zimo could even hear the sound of the saber slicing through the Thunder Emperor's bones. Right from the beginning, the Thunder Emperor's face did not change, as though he could not feel any pain. However, the lightning in his eyes intensified. Boom! The outcome of the fight between the weapon spirits was already decided. The vermilion bird's sacred soul dissipated and turned into a red streak of light, entering the wall of the hell suppression tripod once more to fall into a deep sleep. As for the two weapon spirits of the execution saber, although they suffered quite a blow and dimmed slightly, they were still intact and charged towards Su Zimo. Poof! Finally, Su Zimo pulled out the execution saber. However, that short process almost exhausted all his strength. The Green Lotus True Body was severely injured as well. Unable to hold on, Su Zimo slumped to the ground weakly. The killing intent behind him was cold and he did not even have the strength to turn back. He could only pant heavily and remain motionless with a dispirited expression. Humph! Just as the two weapon spirits were about to slice Su Zimo into two, a cold harumph sounded and the void trembled. The two weapon spirits paused for a moment as well. The Thunder Emperor spoke. Instinctively, Su Zimo looked up. The shocking wound on the Thunder Emperor's chest was healing slowly. The aura of the Thunder Emperor became stronger as well and the lightning in his eyes intensified with endless might. The two weapon spirits seemed wary and hesitant. However, after a brief pause, the two weapon spirits were enraged and slashed towards Su Zimo still. Suddenly, two streaks of lightning burst forth from the Thunder Emperor's eyes. At that moment, the entire world seemed to be filled with lightning. Boom! A loud bang sounded when the two lightning bolts struck the two weapon spirits. Electric arcs flashed and crackled on the two weapon spirits. The two weapon spirits trembled and lamented, as though they were in immense pain. Su Zimo was dumbstruck. The two weapon spirits had just suppressed the vermilion bird's sacred soul and were intact. Now, they were suppressed by a single gaze from the Thunder Emperor. Could it be? Su Zimo thought of a possibility and his eyes lit up. Right then, as though they realized something, the two weapon spirits no longer chased after Su Zimo. Instead, they turned around and returned to the execution saber instantly. Ding! The blade quivered slightly and transformed into a streak of light that tore through the firmaments, speeding into the distance. That was a spirit treasure. It was already sentient and could judge the situation to avoid danger. The Thunder Emperor did not attack as he looked at the departing execution saber. His strength had yet to recover completely, and he could not retain the Grotto Heaven spirit treasure. The Thunder Emperor's spirit consciousness moved and the initially shattered Dao fruit in front of him turned into streaks of lightning that entered Su Zimo's body like raindrops. Ah! Su Zimo cried out in pain and his body curled uncontrollably, trembling. Electric arcs flashed on his body and seeped into his flesh, bones and organs through his pores. Su Zimo had cultivated the Void Thunder Manual to begin with and did not reject the power of the Dao fruit. When he withdrew the saber earlier on, there was still a lot of punishment and killing power left in his body. But now, all of that power was purged away by the power of thunder that surged in. A moment later, when the pain gradually dissipated, Su Zimo was shocked to discover that his injuries had mostly healed. Every single move he made seemed even more powerful than before. Senior. With a swoosh, Su Zimo stood up from the ground. His face was rosy and he could move freely. I've sealed these Dao fruit fragments into your body temporarily with dermic powers. The Thunder Emperor said, given your current cultivation, it's difficult for you to absorb and refine them completely. They might be able to help you in the future. Thank you, Senior. Su Zimo bowed hurriedly in thanks. That was the Dao fruit of a peerless perfected immortal. Even though it was already shattered and battered, the remaining fragments possessed unimaginable might. Crack. Right then, a strange sound came from the Thunder Emperor. Su Zimo focused his gaze. One of the chains on the Thunder Emperor's body had already snapped. The lightning in the Thunder Emperor's eyes intensified and his skinny body shuddered once more. Crack. With another crisp sound, a second chain broke. The 10 absolute chains were broken by the Thunder Emperor's own power. The power of the 10 absolute chains came from the 10 absolute hell. The 10 absolute hell was so terrifying that it could even kill perfected immortal experts. Now that the Thunder Emperor could break the chains himself, what did that mean? The 2 chains snapped and the Thunder Emperor's hands broke free. His skinny hands grabbed another 2 chains and squeezed. Crack. The 2 chains snapped at the same time. As though he could read the confusion in Su Zimo's eyes, the Thunder Emperor smiled. The 10 absolute hell and 10 absolute chains alone won't be able to trap me. All these years, the only thing that trapped me here was that execution saber. When you pulled out that saber for me, it was equivalent to you removing the greatest seal on my body. Boom! The moment he said that, the Thunder Emperor exerted strength and a loud bang sounded. The remaining 6 chains snapped at the same time. The 10 absolute formation shook and the formation eyes shattered, creating massive storms in the immortal formation that were extremely chaotic. The aura of the Thunder Emperor rose continuously, as though a terrifying god was awakening and returning. Chapter 1953. Unstoppable. Chapter 1953. Unstoppable. City Lord's Residence. Many city lords and exalted immortals toasted and looked at the mirage mirror, chatting merrily. The fight in the 10 absolute hell intensified. In less than 2 days, more than half of the 100,000 black immortals had died. Apart from the massacre of many black immortals, more than half of them were killed by the earth demons who had awakened in the 10 absolute hell. More and more earth demons awakened and the remaining black immortals had less room to survive. Right then, the weather above Absolute Thunder City changed. The skies were initially clear. However, for some reason, dark clouds surged over as though someone had splashed ink on them in an unfathomable manner. Black clouds blanketed the city and the skies gradually darkened. The atmosphere in Absolute Thunder City turned tense. Emblem. Perfected Immortal Jingyu frowned and looked up. This had never happened since the establishment of Absolute Thunder City. What happened? Why is there such a phenomenon in the skies? Did something happen in the city? Many exalted immortals exchanged glances with bewildered expressions. Most of them were heaven immortal experts. At their cultivation realm, they knew that such a universal phenomenon would not happen without reason. Prince Yuanzhua narrowed his eyes. For some reason, he felt a sense of trepidation. As time passed by, the dark clouds in the skies grew thicker and gathered above Absolute Thunder City without dispersing. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, a dull thunderclap sounded from the depths of the dark clouds. Although the sound of thunder was not loud, everyone was shocked when they heard it. Ever since Absolute Thunder City was established, all the power of thunder had gone extinct. For hundreds of thousands of years, there had been no sound of thunder in the skies of Absolute Thunder City. How is that possible? The city lord of Absolute Thunder City murmured softly with a shocked expression. As though he recalled something, he suddenly turned around and looked at the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar in the city. The Divine Pillar was still standing in the center of the ancient city, towering into the clouds without much change. The Divine Pillar is fine. What happened? The city lord of Absolute Thunder City was even more puzzled. Right then, Lu Yu pointed at the mirage mirror and suddenly exclaimed, "Look! What's wrong? What happened?" Many exalted immortals were attracted by the dark clouds and thunder above them, and no one looked at the mirage mirror. At that moment, they asked hurriedly.
Lu Yu said. There seemed to be a saber beam that charged out of the 10 absolute formation earlier on.
The speed of the saber beam was so fast that he could not be sure and his tone was hesitant. What saber beam? Are you sure it came from the 10 absolute hell? Perfected Immortal Jing Yu's heart skipped a beat as though he recalled something. Suddenly, he became nervous and asked. I didn't see it clearly either. Perhaps I was wrong. Lu Yu felt nervous when he was questioned by Perfected Immortal Jing Yu. Boom. Right then, a loud bang sounded beneath everyone's feet. Immediately after, the ground before everyone split open and a cold and murderous saber tore through the ground, leaving Absolute Thunder City and speeding into the distance. It's the execution saber. Perfected Immortal Jingyu exclaimed when he saw it clearly. The expression of Prince Yuan's was changed starkly. The surrounding city lords and exalted immortals were shocked as well. They knew what was in the 10 absolute formation and who was stabbed by the execution saber. But now, what did it mean for the execution saber to leave the 10 absolute formation? Right then, the scene in the mirage mirror suddenly shook. Everyone stared at the mirage mirror and saw a tremendous change in the 10 absolute formation. There were layers of storms in the immortal formation. The 10 immortal formations were in complete chaos. This is bad. The immortal formation has been dispelled. Perfected Immortal Jingyu frowned and said in a deep voice, this means that the formation eyes of the 10 immortal formations have already shattered. What's going on? Isn't that sinner of the lower worlds crippled? How did he escape? Was he helped? Many city lords and exalted immortals stood up with nervous expressions as a commotion broke out in the crowd. Even these exalted immortals were so nervous, let alone the earth immortals and guards of the city lord's residence. To them, that sinner of the lower worlds was a taboo legend. He was the supreme perfected immortal of the past and reigned across the entire immortal king realm. At his peak, he swept through the entire 9 firmament immortal domain. Who could match his edge? Although Prince Yuan Zhua was only an earth immortal, he was extremely calm under such circumstances without any hint of panic. Everyone calm down. Perfected Immortal Jingyu took a deep breath and swept his gaze across the city lords and exalted immortals, emitting a powerful might. Everyone in the city lord's residence gradually quietened down. Normally, Perfected Immortal Jingyu had a kind expression and was easygoing. However, when he encountered such a major event, he displayed the might of a county governor. Perfected Immortal Jingyu said in a deep voice, everyone, don't forget that this is Absolute Thunder City. It was specially established to suppress that sinner of the lower worlds. Furthermore, that sinner's Tao fruit is already crippled and has been suppressed for hundreds of thousands of years. Even if he can break out of the formation, how capable is he? Perfected Immortal Jingyu's words calmed everyone down gradually. That's right. The city lord of Absolute Thunder City sneered. The essence of a perfected immortal's lifetime of cultivation is condensed in their Tao fruit. Once their Tao fruit is shattered, even if that sinner manages to escape, his combat strength will only be similar to a heaven immortal at most. At that time, even I will be able to suppress and imprison him once more. The county governor won't even have to step in. All right. Prince Yuan's were clapped and praised with a satisfied expression. The city lord of Mu Feng City was rather young and stood up as well. Raising his head slightly, he sneered. That sinner has been suppressed for hundreds of thousands of years and his blood chi is weak. In my opinion, he might not even be able to defeat me. Mu Feng City was not big and the city lord was a grade 9 earth immortal. Boom. Right then, the ground beneath everyone's feet trembled. Everyone looked at the mirage mirror hurriedly. The clouds of the 10 absolute formation gradually thinned, revealing a stone pillar in the middle. Through the clouds, one could vaguely see a skinny figure standing beneath the stone pillar. He was skinny and his hair was withered, as though a gust of wind could blow him over. Beneath the figure's feet were snapped chains that had clearly just been broken free. Not far away from that figure, there seemed to be another figure that could not be seen clearly. That's the sinner from the lower worlds? Ha 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 ha. Indeed. This sinner has already fallen to such a state. I can probably kill him with a single finger. The city lord of Feng City was young and arrogant and could not help but burst into laughter. The crowd burst into laughter as well. Suddenly, the skinny figure raised his head and his messy hair fell to both sides, revealing a pair of eyes. His eyes surged with lightning and were incomparably blinding. Ah! A series of tragic cries sounded from the city lord's residence. The cultivators who met with those eyes closed their eyes with pained expressions. Some Earth Immortals, including the city lord of Feng City who was laughing earlier on, had blood flowing out from their eyes through their fingers in a terrifying manner. Their eyes were blinded just by meeting those lightning eyes. What was even more frightening was that they were not looking at one another directly. It was through the mirage eye. Chapter 1954. Essence Qi Absorption. Chapter 1954. Essence Qi Absorption. Some of the Heaven Immortal experts in the City Lord's residence could not withstand it either and felt their eyes sting. They hurriedly averted their gazes and did not dare to look. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu's eyes widened and shone brightly. His eyes seemed to have formed two ancient mirrors. He wanted to see the situation inside clearly. Boom! However, right then, the mirage eye could not withstand the pair of lightning eyes and shattered instantly. Cracks appeared on the mirage mirror and it exploded. At the same time, dark clouds rumbled in the skies of Absolute Thunder City and thunder crackled. In fact, resplendent lightning appeared in the dark clouds, as though it was tearing the gigantic black cloth in the firmaments into countless pieces. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu clenched his fists instinctively. The power of the Thunder Emperor was much stronger than he had imagined. However, how was that possible? How could someone with a crippled Dao fruit possess such a violent and domineering power? 10 Absolute Hell. The many black immortals of the lower world who were initially killing one another stopped and looked in the direction of the 10 Absolute formation with frightened expressions. Even the earth demons that were killing wantonly chose to sprawl on the ground and tremble. Their senses towards danger were even sharper. The earth demons could sense that an extremely terrifying existence was awakening from its slumber within the 10 Absolute formation. Nobody knew what exactly happened. However, the entire 10 Absolute Hell shook as though it could collapse at any moment. Tianxing clenched her fists and stood in the forest, looking in the direction of the 10 Absolute formation with disbelief in her eyes. Even with her temperament, she could not contain her emotions at the moment. Could it be? She did not dare to imagine. She was worried that the greater her hope, the greater her disappointment. In the 10 Absolute formation, Zimo looked at the Thunder Emperor before him in a daze with a shocked expression. He could sense an unimaginable terrifying power from the Thunder Emperor's skinny and withered body, as though it could explode at any moment. Senior, why are you? Apart from shock, Zimo was even more puzzled. He saw with his own eyes that the Thunder Emperor's Dao fruit had already shattered. How could a person with a shattered Dao fruit release such a terrifying power upon escaping after being suppressed for hundreds of thousands of years? As though he could read Zimo's mind, the Thunder Emperor smiled. Indeed, my Dao fruit is gone. However, for the past hundreds of thousands of years, I was trapped here and could not move at all. Because of that, I comprehended something new. I'll impart these remaining comprehensions to you. Given your talent, you'll definitely be able to comprehend them one day. The moment he said that, a stream of spirit consciousness surged into Zimo's consciousness. The Thunder Emperor imparted all the comprehensions that he had yet to complete to Zimo without holding back at all. Absolute Thunder City will be in chaos soon and I won't be able to take care of you. Be careful and leave in the chaos. Zimo was still digesting the spirit consciousness when the Thunder Emperor's voice sounded once more. Shrugging his head, Zimo took a deep breath and looked up. The Thunder Emperor rose slowly and flew towards the skies of the 10 Absolute Hell. The aura released by the skinny and withered figure became increasingly terrifying and attracted the gazes of all living beings in the 10 Absolute Hell. Many black immortals and living beings were inexplicably terrified. Tianxing was agitated and her lips quivered, as though she wanted to call out to something. However, she did not say anything in the end. Arriving above the 10 Absolute Hell, the Thunder Emperor raised his head in rage. Suddenly, he reached out and punched above his head. That skinny fist was not much bigger than an infant's fist. However, That punch caused the world to collapse. The 10 absolute hell was penetrated. The Thunder Emperor rose the entire way and nothing could stop him. Boom! Boom!
Finally, the ground of the City Lord's residence exploded and the Thunder Emperor burst forth.
Crack! Instantly, a thunderbolt as thick as an arm descended from the skies of Absolute Thunder City and struck the Thunder Emperor. There was no pain on the Thunder Emperor's face. Instead, the lightning in his eyes intensified. Even his flesh seemed to have filled up a little. For others, the thunderbolt would cause immense damage. However, it was a great tonic for the Thunder Emperor. The Thunder Emperor's eyes shone with lightning and were blinding. Everywhere his gaze landed, the void would tremble and distort. The mountains and halls in the City Lord's residence were collapsing as well. They could not withstand his lightning eyes. Not many people in the City Lord's residence could match him. The Thunder Emperor took a deep breath and the surrounding heaven and earth essence chi surged into his body continuously. His body expanded bit by bit as well and his shriveled flesh filled up. Even his skin had a rosy glow. When he saw that, Su Zimo vaguely realized that the Thunder Emperor had locked the essence chi in his body with supreme dermic powers over the years to defend against the corrosion of time. Now that he was free, the Thunder Emperor broke through the 10 absolute hell and devoured heaven and earth essence chi, releasing the essence chi in his body. His strength and condition were recovering rapidly. The Thunder Emperor stood in midair and lightning flashed on his body, as though he wanted to trample the entire Absolute Thunder City beneath his feet with a peerless might. The City Lord of Absolute Thunder City and the sect masters of the Immortal sects were all stunned by the Thunder Emperor's aura and did not dare to advance. Right now, perfected Immortal Jingyu was the only one who could defend against the aura of the Thunder Emperor. Feng Cantian, it's indeed you. Perfected Immortal Jingyu stood up slowly as well and faced the Thunder Emperor in midair, shouting. Who are you? The Thunder Emperor glanced at Perfected Immortal Jingyu and said casually. I'm the Green Cloud County Governor and my Dao title is Jingyu. Perfected Immortal Jingyu said in a deep voice. Oh. The Thunder Emperor replied indifferently. I have some impression of you. Back when I was acquainted with Sima, you were merely his disciple. How dare you? Perfected Immortal Jingyu hollered. Today is no longer the same as before. How dare you call King Jin by his name? Humph. The Thunder Emperor's cold harumph was like thunder. He's been conferred the title of King Jin, huh? The Thunder Emperor glared at Perfected Immortal Jingyu coldly and sneered. So what if I call him by his name? Feng Cantian, your Dao fruit is crippled and you're merely putting on a strong front now. There's no need for you to bluff here. Perfected Immortal Jingyu had a fearless expression and his aura rose continuously as he shouted. I can suppress you just for the fact that you called King Jin by his name. Oh, feel free to try. There was no hint of fear on the Thunder Emperor's face. Kill. Perfected Immortal Jingyu attacked directly and conjured hand seals with both hands. A divine light burst forth from his glabella and entered his palms, forming a gigantic saber with his true essence that slashed down at the Thunder Emperor. He knew very well that the Thunder Emperor was recovering his essence chi after escaping. The longer things dragged on, the more advantageous it would be for the Thunder Emperor. The Thunder Emperor did not dodge or avoid. He extended his palm and grabbed the void. Lightning surged in his palm and in the blink of an eye, a lightning spear was formed. It emitted a terrifying aura and was thrown towards Perfected Immortal Jingyu. Boom! The saber and spear collided with a loud bang. Chapter 1955, Sea of Lightning. Chapter 1955, Sea of Lightning. Berserk power splattered everywhere and almost half the City Lord's residence was overturned, causing the world to tremble. The saber and spear dissipated at the same time. Perfected Immortal Jingyu did not gain any advantage in this clash. True essence! Perfected Immortal Jingyu exclaimed. How is that possible? How can you condense true essence with your Dao fruit shattered? After cultivating to the perfected one realm and condensing a Dao fruit, all the essence chi would be absorbed and refined by the Dao fruit before flowing into the body, forming an extremely condensed and pure power. That was true essence. Not only that, true essence contained the Dao and dermic arts of cultivators. Therefore, after cultivating to the perfected one realm and becoming a perfected immortal, Even if it was just an ordinary attack or the most ordinary dermic art, it was enough to crush many divine powers and secret skills. Even if a heaven immortal expert released a supreme divine power, it would be difficult for him to defend against the power of true essence. Of course, it would be a different story for peerless divine powers. Under normal circumstances, true essence could not be condensed if the Tao fruit was shattered. That was also the reason why perfected immortal Jingyu was so confident that he could suppress the Thunder Emperor.
However, he had not expected that the lightning spear conjured by the Thunder Emperor would contain the power of true essence as well.
Foo-foo. The Thunder Emperor smiled with a proud expression and said slowly, "My Tao fruit was indeed crippled by Tianxing. However, I didn't waste my time for the past hundreds of thousands of years. Since the Tao fruit is shattered, I'll replace it with a sea of lightning."
The moment he said that, another series of deafening thunderclaps sounded from the firmaments, as though the heavens were enraged and wanted to send down a lightning punishment.
The dark clouds above Absolute Thunder City spun slowly as though they were drawn in by some power, forming a gigantic black cloud vortex. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled endlessly in the vortex.
At the center of the vortex, the lightning condensed intensified and eventually turned into a gigantic thunderbolt that descended on the Thunder Emperor.
The Thunder Emperor stood in midair and looked up at the firmaments without dodging. He was bathed in lightning and was insufferably arrogant, like a god that controlled thunder. The Thunder Emperor opened his glabella and revealed his consciousness. Due to the shattered Tao fruit, the Thunder Emperor's consciousness was dilapidated and was even filled with holes. At that moment, some lightning had already accumulated in those pits. It could not be considered as a sea of lightning. At best, it could only be considered as a pit of lightning. However, as time passed by, more and more power of thunder surged into his consciousness and the pits gradually connected, forming a lake of lightning. Everyone else was merely shocked when they saw that. However, Su Zimo, who obtained the Thunder Emperor's legacy, had a flash of realization. Establishment post-destruction, creation of the Sea of Lightning after the Tao fruit is shattered. A few incantations from the Void Thunder Manual surfaced in Su Zimo's mind. Those incantations were clearly comprehended by the Thunder Emperor over the past hundreds of thousands of years. To think that...
Su Zimo murmured softly in admiration.
The Thunder Emperor was extremely talented and did not give up after his Tao fruit was destroyed. Instead, he created a new Tao technique and reconstructed his shattered consciousness, transforming it into a sea of lightning to replace the Tao fruit.
Now that the Thunder Emperor had broken free and absorbed the lightning, his cultivation and strength were recovering rapidly as well.
As long as he had time, he could definitely return to his peak and might even be stronger than before. The dark clouds above Absolute Thunder City became thicker and thicker. The light of thunder was dazzling and ordinary cultivators could not look at it directly. The Thunder Emperor's aura rose continuously and lightning gathered around him, almost forming an ocean. The withered yellow hair on the Thunder Emperor's head fell off before growing back. His body was also recovering rapidly and his skin regained its luster. His face was rosy and the aura of twilight around him was swept away. Jingyu, didn't you say that he's at the end of his lifespan? When Prince Yuanzhua saw that, he was enraged and a hint of panic finally appeared in his eyes.
Ha 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 ha.
The Thunder Emperor burst into laughter. A bunch of ignorant juniors. Back when King Tianxing plotted against me, I was already half a step into the Grotto Heaven realm. My lifespan broke free from the shackles of heaven and earth and reached 1,000,000 years, no different from an immortal king. It was only at that moment that Su Zimo knew that the so-called Immortal King was not a cultivation realm, but a title similar to Heaven Immortal or Perfected Immortal. Black Essence Realm, Earth Essence Realm, Heaven Essence Realm, Perfected One Realm. The Grotto Heaven Realm was above the Perfected One Realm. One could only be conferred kingship after entering the Grotto Heaven Realm. Although the Thunder Emperor's Tao fruit was crippled by King Tianxing, his lifespan did not decrease because of that.
Now that the Thunder Emperor had escaped, although his strength had yet to recover, the methods he displayed had already exceeded everyone's expectations.
The skinny old man had already vanished. In his place in midair was a peerless expert who was handsome and possessed a torrential aura with lightning eyes. This expert was suppressed for hundreds of thousands of years and tortured. But now that he was free, the world was shocked. Most of the Black Immortals in the 10 Absolute Hell were stunned on the spot, not knowing what to do.
If they were embroiled in a battle with an expert of this level, they might not even survive with a body remaining. The hunting meet was not over yet. Under normal circumstances, no one was allowed to leave without permission. Otherwise, they would be killed by the hunting ranking. Furthermore, the 10 Absolute Hell was established deep underground. Although many black immortals could rise into the air, the height they could reach was limited to 80 to 90 feet. Therefore, most black immortals remained in the 10 Absolute Hell to watch. Of course, there were also a few people who chose to escape from the 10 Absolute Hell. Zimo was one of them. The 10 Absolute Hell was 1,000 feet beneath the ground. For others it was difficult to reach. However, it was not difficult for Zimo. He did not use the rock wings. There were many people here and he would not expose his trump cards unless he had no other choice. Releasing ethereal wings, Zimo rose into the air and flew towards the city lord's residence. Of course, the speed of ethereal wings was far inferior compared to the rock wings. Right then, Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he sensed someone staring at him not far away. He turned back expressionlessly. On the other side, a purple figure flew into the air as well with lightning flashing on its body at an astonishing speed. Tianxing. At that moment, Tianxing's aura was clearly much stronger than in the 10 Absolute Hell. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, Tianxing overtook Zimo. As they brushed shoulders, Tianxing's voice sounded in Zimo's mind. I wasn't at my peak strength in the 10 Absolute Hell. Let's fight again if there's a chance. Also, I owe you 2 favors. I'll definitely return them. Zimo smiled without saying anything. He sensed a familiar aura from Tianxing. If he was not wrong, Tianxing had cultivated the Void Thunder Manual as well. However, he did not know where she learned it or what it had to do with the Thunder Emperor. Before long, Zimo ascended to the city lord's residence and left amidst the chaos. He hid in a corner of Absolute Thunder City and watched the figure in midair. Chapter 1956, 11 Perfected Immortals. Chapter 1956, 11 Perfected Immortals. I can't let him continue devouring lightning. Perfected Immortal Jing had a grim expression. He could clearly see that the number of lakes in the Thunder Emperor's consciousness was increasing. If the Thunder Emperor were to continue devouring and connecting the lakes, there was a chance that a sea of lightning would be formed. At that time, there would probably be no one in Absolute Thunder City who could suppress this person. Feng Cantian, you want to make use of thunder to cultivate in Absolute Thunder City? What a joke. Perfected Immortal Jing's hands changed rapidly as he conjured hand seals and pointed to the gigantic stone pillar with chains in the middle of Absolute Thunder City, hollering softly, break. The runes on the stone pillar lit up rapidly with a mysterious glow. Immediately after, the runes gathered rapidly and formed a gigantic beam of light that surged into the skies, entering the dark clouds above Absolute Thunder City. Boom! There was a loud bang. The dark cloud vortex in the firmaments was smashed into pieces. Even the dark clouds showed signs of dissipating. The thunderbolt between the dark clouds and the Thunder Emperor was severed instantly as well. The Thunder Emperor turned around and his eyes shone with lightning as they landed on the stone pillar in the middle of Absolute Thunder City. Good. This isn't done by Tianxing. He's not capable of this. The Thunder Emperor nodded slowly. When the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar was created, the Thunder Emperor was already suppressed in the 10 Absolute Hell. However, he could tell right away who created the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. Sima. The Thunder Emperor called out the name of King Jin and clenched his fists. Suddenly, 2 blinding thunderbolts burst forth from his eyes and struck the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar instantly. The thunderbolts collided with the Divine Pillar silently. Even perfected Immortal Jing had to defend against the power of thunder in the Thunder Emperor's eyes with all his might. However, there were no ripples when it landed on the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. The thunderbolts seemed to have been absorbed by the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar like a rock sinking into the ocean. The dark clouds in the skies gradually dispersed as well. It was no lie that absolutely no thunder was allowed. Humph! The Thunder Emperor harumphed coldly and attacked once more. He pointed forward and a thunderbolt burst forth from his fingertip,
landing on the absolute thunder divine pillar. It burst forth rapidly and formed a lightning cage, trapping the latter within. Lightning crackled and flashed within the cage. However, before long, the lightning was absorbed by the absolute thunder divine pillar and vanished. The Thunder Emperor's attack was futile once more. Perfected Immortal Jingyu heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that. Feng Cantian, give up. Perfected Immortal Jingyu sneered. King Jin established this absolute thunder divine pillar personally. Even if you recover to your peak strength, you won't be able to shake it. Jingyu, hurry and suppress him. Prince Yuanzhua felt uneasy and could not help but urge. Don't worry, Your Highness. Perfected Immortal Jingyu smiled gently. The reason why Absolute Thunder City was established for hundreds of thousands of years was to suppress this sinner of the lower worlds. All these years, it's definitely not a fluke that Absolute Thunder City has stood strong. That's because apart from me, there are other perfected immortals in Absolute Thunder City. Prince Yuanzhua was slightly stunned. Are you serious? Even he did not know about this. Perfected Immortal Jingyu said, back in the 9 Firmament Immortal domain, the sinner of this lower worlds was extremely famous and had many followers. In order to prevent any accidents, King Jin made such an arrangement. Right then, a commotion broke out in Absolute Thunder City as incomparably powerful auras burst forth. Boom! A figure rose from the east. Although his hair was already white, his body was shrouded by true essence and his aura was powerful. Boom! Another figure descended in the northwest direction with a horsetail whip in his hands. Although he was older, he was hale and hearty and had a burning gaze. Boom! 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 Figures broke out of seclusion one after another and descended in Absolute Thunder City. Most of those figures were arranged by King Jin hundreds of thousands of years ago to guard this place. By now, they were already in their later years. Even so, the auras of those old men were comparable to perfected Immortal Jingyu. Su Zimo took a glance. There were a total of 10 perfected immortal experts that corresponded to the 10 absolute formation. Including perfected Immortal Jingyu, there were 11 perfected immortals. If it was hundreds of thousands of years ago, even if there were 10 times more, the Thunder Emperor would not take notice of them, let alone 11 perfected immortals. However, the Thunder Emperor had just escaped and his strength was far from returning to its peak. The Thunder Emperor did not gain any advantage against perfected Immortal Jingyu earlier on. Furthermore, this was Absolute Thunder City, and with a divine object like the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar, the strength of the Thunder Emperor was obviously under immense suppression. Moreover, Su Zimo knew one thing better than anyone else. The wound on the Thunder Emperor's chest had not healed completely. The wound left behind by the Grotto Heaven's spirit treasure, the execution saber, that was nailed to the stone pillar for hundreds of thousands of years could not be healed so easily. Feng Cantian, do you still recognize me? On the east, an old perfected immortal walked slowly in the direction of the Thunder Emperor and hollered. It was you. The Thunder Emperor raised his brow slightly and smiled. Back at the 9 Firmament Immortal meet, you could not even defend against a single gaze of mine. Now, you still have the guts to stand in front of me? That was back then. When the perfected immortal old man heard that, his face turned slightly red as he grit his teeth and said hatefully, back then, you were so domineering and unparalleled. It was because of that battle back then that my Tao heart was damaged and my cultivation hasn't advanced at all. Oh, so it's my fault. The Thunder Emperor sneered. Given your magnanimity, even without that defeat, this would be the limits of your accomplishment. Bullshit. The perfected immortal old man was enraged and cursed. Back then, although they were both perfected immortal experts, he was defeated by a single gaze from the Thunder Emperor in the 9 Firmament Immortal domain and became a joke. Later on, when he heard that the Thunder Emperor was in trouble, he took the initiative to guard the latter to vent the hatred in his heart. However, his Tao heart injuries had not healed all these years. Now that the Thunder Emperor was bringing up the past, new injuries were added to his Tao heart even before his old injuries were healed. Brother Tianku, why argue with him? Another perfected immortal old man sneered. He's been imprisoned and suppressed beneath Absolute Thunder City for hundreds of thousands of years in a dark place. His situation isn't much better. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. The perfected immortal old man in the north mocked. The supreme perfected immortal of the past has already fallen from grace. All your glory has become the past. Feng Cantian, you didn't know what's good for you back then and even wanted to establish an immortal kingdom for all living beings of the lower worlds. You brought this upon yourself. Feng Cantian, you come from the lower worlds and were already extremely fortunate to be recognized by the divine Firmament Immortal Emperor. However, you didn't know your place and even wanted to wield thunder and exact punishment on behalf of the heavens. How dare you? The heavens want to destroy you and no one can save you. Many perfected immortals advanced and surrounded the Thunder Emperor, berating him one after another. When Xueqi heard the so-called heinous crimes mentioned by the perfected immortals, his blood surged. What sort of boldness was it to want to wield thunder and exact punishment on behalf of the heavens? The Thunder Emperor was the only one in the world. Chapter 1957, Battling Perfected Immortals. Chapter 1957. Battling Perfected Immortals. Attack! Perfected Immortal Jingyu hollered and an ancient bronze mirror flew out from his wide sleeves. It emitted a hazy and mysterious light that hovered in the air and shone towards the Thunder Emperor. There were 8 faint patterns on the ancient bronze mirror that were different from the essence chi patterns on black and earth-grade dermic treasures. Those patterns seemed to have been struck by lightning, and there were a total of 7 burn marks. 7 Tribulations Spirit Treasure. The Thunder Emperor swept his gaze and sneered. Xueqi's heart skipped a beat. Back in the abyss of the Dragon Abyss Star, many spirit treasures appeared and among them, there were spirit treasures with different tribulations. The God-Fiend Soul Summoning Banner that was devoured by the Hell Suppression Tripod was a grade 9 spirit treasure and was also known as a pure Yang spirit treasure. Kill! The remaining 10 perfected immortal experts attacked one after another and summoned their sentient dermic treasures. Those sentient dermic treasures were different. Some of them were horsetails, some of them were flying swords, some of them summoned pagodas while others held gigantic bells. Xueqi focused his gaze and could see the charred marks on the sentient dermic treasures that resembled the ancient bronze mirror. However, there were fewer burn marks on those sentient dermic treasures. There were 4, 5 and 6 of them. According to that logic, there was a high chance that those sentient dermic treasures were 4 and 5 tribulation spirit treasures. Many dermic treasures arrived together with a chilling killing intent, wanting to destroy the Thunder Emperor. The Thunder Emperor's gaze was like lightning as he moved, wanting to dodge. However, the mysterious light of the ancient bronze mirror enveloped him, causing the Thunder Emperor's movements to suddenly turn extremely slow, as though he had fallen into a swamp. When he saw that, there was no joy on perfected immortal Jingyu's face. Instead there was deep fear. Under normal circumstances, the light of his ancient bronze mirror was enough to freeze most perfected immortals on the spot. As for the Thunder Emperor, he was suppressed for hundreds of thousands of years and was injured. And now, he could barely be suppressed by the 7 tribulation spirit treasure, even before his sea of lightning was formed. If the Thunder Emperor had truly recovered to his peak, it would be unimaginable. All right. The other perfected immortal experts were invigorated when they saw that. Initially, it was difficult for everyone to hit the Thunder Emperor with their dermic treasures. But now, the Thunder Emperor's movements were restricted and his movement technique was slow. Even if he could avoid 1 spirit treasure, he could not avoid the other 9. The horsetail whips, flying swords, pagodas and many other spirit treasures descended. The Thunder Emperor tried his best to dodge. However, he was too restricted by the ancient bronze mirror and was still struck by 3 spirit treasures. Piak! The horsetail whip struck the Thunder Emperor heavily on the back and blood flashed. That single attack split the Thunder Emperor's skin and flesh open in an extremely tragic manner. Xueqi's heart skipped a beat. However, the old man with the horsetail whip did not get excited when he struck the Thunder Emperor. Instead he frowned. Although his horsetail whip looked soft, it could definitely snap the other party's tendons and bones if it struck his body. But now, although the Thunder Emperor was injured, it was only a superficial injury and his foundation was not injured. Poof! Another blood beam burst forth. A cold beam streaked across the Thunder Emperor's thigh, leaving an extremely deep wound that was dripping with blood. The cold beam circled and returned to another perfected immortal old man. It was a flying sword. The perfected immortal old man had a grim expression as well. Although his flying sword scratched the Thunder Emperor's flesh, it seemed to have struck metal when it struck the bones. Instead, his flying sword was repelled. The pagoda descended and smashed onto the head of the Thunder Emperor. Bang! The Thunder Emperor staggered and was almost knocked down by the pagoda. However, he shook his head and stood up quickly, straightening his body. Although his head was bleeding from the beating, his aura was getting stronger and his eyes were filled with the wrath of thunder. Pest! The cultivators of Absolute Thunder City were shocked. Even perfected Immortal Jing Yu and the other 10 perfected Immortal experts were secretly alarmed. That was way too terrifying. How strong was he to take spirit treasures head-on with his body? What was even more frightening was that the Thunder Emperor's strength had yet to recover completely, and the lightning above Absolute Thunder City was isolated by the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. If the Thunder Emperor could regain control of thunder, they might not be his match. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu had a calm expression. Everyone, attack with your full strength. This person won't be able to cause much trouble in Absolute Thunder City. If he can't absorb the power of thunder, we can exhaust him to death even if we have to. If you can defend against my pagoda, I'll smash you 100 times until I suppress you. The 10 perfected immortal experts attacked once more. Some perfected immortal experts began to condense their true essence while others even released many divine powers and secret skills with all their might. As for the Thunder Emperor, he was completely disadvantaged against the 7 Tribulation Spirit Treasure and the Ancient Bronze Mirror. Bang! 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 One after another, spirit treasures smashed onto the Thunder Emperor. In the blink of an eye, the Thunder Emperor was covered in injuries. If this continued, the Thunder Emperor would definitely lose. Su Zimo had a worried expression. Even if he wanted to help, there was nothing he could do in a battle of this level. He could condense time as like a saber. However, time as like a saber was a greater divine power after all and could not threaten perfected immortals. Before the time saber could even land on the perfected immortals, it would be dispersed by the surrounding true essence. There was only a single key to resolving the situation: the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. As long as the Thunder Emperor could reconnect with the power of thunder in the world and regain control of it, he would definitely be able to turn defeat into victory and escape. Young friend, let me borrow your tripod. Just as Su Zimo was pondering, the Thunder Emperor's voice sounded in his mind. The Hell Suppression Tripod was one of his most important treasures. However, at that moment, he did not hesitate at all. He appeared from a corner and threw the bronze square tripod towards the battlefield in midair. Everyone's gazes were attracted by the perfected immortal experts in midair, and no one noticed the black immortal in the corner. The battle in midair continued. Suddenly, a green shadow flew out from the side. Perfected immortal Jing Yu swept his gaze and could clearly see that it was a damaged bronze tripod that flew out from nowhere. He did not take it to heart and was still focused on channeling the ancient bronze mirror to suppress the Thunder Emperor. Indeed, a bronze tripod as such was not worthy of the attention of the many perfected immortals present. However, a resplendent light burst forth from the Thunder Emperor's eyes. He channeled his blood chi and struggled to break free from the restraints of the ancient bronze mirror. He took the Hell Suppression Tripod and smashed it without even looking. The pagoda behind him descended and crushed down viciously. Boom! The Hell Suppression Tripod collided with the pagoda with a loud bang. Crack, crack, crack. Immediately after, a jarring sound of a turtle cracking could be heard from midair. Ah! A perfected immortal old man suddenly exclaimed and looked at his pagoda in disbelief. Cracks appeared on the pagoda in a shocking manner and spread rapidly, covering the entire pagoda. How is that possible? The other perfected immortal experts were shocked as well. Chapter 1958. Startling Evil Spear. Chapter 1958. Startling Evil Spear. The pagoda of this perfected immortal expert was a 5 Tribulation Spirit Treasure. Although its grade was not high, it could not be shattered casually. Even perfected immortal Jing Yu's ancient bronze mirror could not shatter his spirit treasure. But now, the battered and unassuming bronze tripod had shattered his pagoda.
What was even more frightening was that many perfected immortals could clearly see that there was no light shining from the bronze tripod, nor was there any augmentation of true essence. The reason why the Thunder Emperor could shatter the pagoda was entirely because of his own strength and the toughness of the bronze tripod. It was understandable why the Thunder Emperor was so strong. However, what was the background of this bronze tripod? Just as the perfected immortals were shocked, the Thunder Emperor seized the opportunity and strode towards the center of the city. "Where are you headed to?" An old man opposite him raised his gigantic axe and channeled his blood chi. With a leap, he slashed down towards the Thunder Emperor with a torrential aura. The old man specialized in body tempering to begin with. Even though he was already in his later years, his blood chi was still extremely strong. He raised his gigantic axe and released a surging power. "Get lost!" The Thunder Emperor did not dodge or avoid and hollered. Without any unnecessary movements, he raised the tripod and smashed it. Clang! The gigantic axe and hell suppression tripod collided and the entire Absolute Thunder City trembled, rendering the world silent. The next moment, the old man cried out in pain. His palm was torn and fresh blood dripped. The gigantic axe in his hands was sent flying by the hell suppression tripod and smashed into the crowd. A few Earth Immortals could not dodge in time and were split into two, dying on the spot. The Thunder Emperor carried the hell suppression tripod and seized the opportunity to charge out of the encirclement. "Hurry, stop him!" Perfected Immortal Jingyu urged hurriedly and moved with the other 10 perfected immortals, forming another encirclement towards the Thunder Emperor. However, they had not walked far when they realized that the Thunder Emperor had not escaped at all. The Thunder Emperor came to a stop in the middle of Absolute Thunder City. "Humph!" A perfected immortal expert sneered. "Feng Cantian, you won't be able to obtain the nourishment of thunder in Absolute Thunder City. Let's see how much longer you can last." Perfected Immortal Jingyu and the others knew what happened in the exchange earlier on. Although the Thunder Emperor managed to break out of their encirclement with the help of the bronze tripod and even shattered a pagoda, his strength was not enough to threaten everyone. Fu. Suddenly, the Thunder Emperor laughed. Ha 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 ha. Towards the end of his laughter, the Thunder Emperor's voice became louder and louder, reverberating through the ancient city like divine thunder. Perfected Immortal Jingyu and the others even felt their ears hurt. The Thunder Emperor's gaze swept past perfected Immortal Jingyu and the others before landing on the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. "Sima, you probably never expected that I would be able to escape one day. That's why you were fearless enough to seal the startling evil spear with secret runes to create this Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar." Startling evil spear. Prince Yuanzhua could not help but ask, "What startling evil spear?" Perfected Immortal Jingyu and the others had grim expressions. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, when the Thunder Emperor and King Jin were fighting, Prince Yuanzhua was not born yet. Naturally, he did not know that the startling evil spear was the weapon that made the Thunder Emperor famous in the past. The startling evil spear could absorb the thunder of heaven and earth and was the most effective against evil. The moment the startling evil spear appeared, all evil beings in the world would be purged. Indeed, King Jin's Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar was created using an extraterritorial divine stone. However, the Thunder Emperor's weapon, the startling evil spear, was sealed within. The startling evil spear was a 9 tribulations pure yang spirit treasure, and the weapon spirit within was ferocious and unyielding. Initially, King Jin wanted to destroy it. However, he changed his mind and decided to seal it within the stone pillar. He wanted to make it impossible for the Thunder Emperor and the startling evil spear to make a comeback. That seal lasted for hundreds of thousands of years. Apart from severing the power of thunder outside the ancient city, there was another meaning to absolute thunder. It meant severing the power of thunder in the startling evil spear. Any power of thunder would be absorbed by the runes on the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. That was the reason why the Thunder Emperor could not destroy the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar earlier on. However, the moment the Thunder Emperor made contact with the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar, he felt a familiar aura. He knew that his old friend who had fought alongside him for many years was in this Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. While the power of thunder could not shake the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar, the Hell Suppression Tripod could. Initially, the Thunder Emperor thought that the bronze tripod was not a rare item as well. However, in the 10 Absolute formation,
When he saw the weapon spirit of the bronze tripod fighting against the execution saber, he gradually recalled the origin of the tripod. This was a great emperor weapon from an ancient era. With that great emperor weapon in hand, even if it was incomplete, it was enough to shatter the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. The Thunder Emperor reached out and caressed the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar gently, murmuring, "Old friend, you've been suppressed for hundreds of thousands of years. It's time for you to be reborn. Hurry, stop him from attacking." Perfected Immortal Jingyu realized something, and his expression changed as he shouted. The other perfected Immortal experts attacked hurriedly. Many spirit treasures, divine powers and secret skills rained down on the Thunder Emperor, as though they wanted to drown him. The Thunder Emperor ignored it and raised his arm, swinging the Hell Suppression tripod. He channeled all his strength and smashed it towards the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. Boom! The Hell Suppression tripod smashed onto the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar while many spirit treasures, divine powers and secret skills smashed onto the Thunder Emperor. Two loud bangs sounded at almost the same time. A gigantic pit appeared beside the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. The Thunder Emperor sprawled inside quietly and motionlessly, his fate unknown. Is he dead? Perfected Immortal Jingyu and the others exchanged glances, feeling uneasy. Under normal circumstances, the combined power of 11 perfected immortals was enough to kill any perfected immortal. However, that was the Thunder Emperor. He was once the supreme perfected immortal. Even after being suppressed for hundreds of thousands of years, he was still a peerless expert with boundless pride after escaping. Would that person die just like that? Nobody knew. Just as everyone was pondering, a strange sound came from the center of the ancient city, as though something had cracked. The gazes of perfected Immortal Jingyu and the others shifted slowly and landed on the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. Everyone's pupils constricted gradually. Their eyesight was shocking and they could naturally see that thin cracks had already appeared on the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar. The cracks were gradually expanding and spreading. It's shattered. A perfected immortal expert murmured softly, as though he had lost his soul. The Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar was shattered. The shattering of the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar meant that no one and no power could stop the power of thunder from descending upon the ancient city. Many perfected immortals had ugly expressions. The initially dispersed dark clouds above Absolute Thunder City gathered once more and rumbled. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, emitting a terrifying might that caused one's heart to tremble, as though a calamity could descend at any moment. Your Highness, run! Perfected Immortal Jingyu sent a voice transmission hurriedly. Without waiting for perfected Immortal Jingyu's reminder, Prince Yuanzhua had already realized that something was amiss and retreated silently. In the chaos, Tangzi noticed this and followed expressionlessly. Chapter 1959. 9 Firmament Instant Thunder. Chapter 1959. 9 Firmament Instant Thunder. Suddenly, the figure in the pit moved gently. That slight movement caused the hearts of perfected Immortal Jingyu and the others to skip a beat. The Thunder Emperor was not dead. Crack, crack, crack. The cracks on the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar intensified. A blinding light gradually seeped out from the cracks with a terrifying aura. Even if they did not know what was sealed in the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar, one could guess that something terrifying was about to be born when they saw that. Not good. Perfected Immortal Jingyu's heart sank. The supreme ferocious weapon of the past was about to be born. Boom! Right then, the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar exploded and incomparably blinding lightning burst forth, as though it wanted to tear the void into pieces. A spear surrounded by blue lightning rose slowly into the air. The spear quivered and buzzed excitedly with a torrential battle intent. The entire Absolute Thunder City trembled under the envelopment of the spear. Boom, boom, boom. Wind and clouds gathered and lightning flashed in the firmaments. A gigantic dark cloud vortex appeared once more and even extended 500 kilometers, covering the entire skies. The birth of the startling evil spear triggered the divine thunder in the firmaments. Countless thunderbolts rained down and almost formed a sea of lightning in the middle of Absolute Thunder City. The Thunder Emperor's figure floated up slowly from the pit, and his body was bathed in lightning. The injuries on his body were healing at a visible speed. Old friend. The Thunder Emperor stood in the sea of lightning and the startling evil spear transformed into a streak of lightning, returning to his palm. The startling evil spear trembled endlessly and the light of thunder intensified as well. The Thunder Emperor reared his head and devoured the descending thunderbolts in huge mouthfuls. In his consciousness, the embryonic form of the Sea of Lightning was gradually formed. There was no one or anything in absolute Thunder City that could stop him from wielding thunder. The Thunder Emperor's aura rose continuously as though there was no end to it. Attack! Perfected Immortal Jingyu roared. The longer the Thunder Emperor absorbed and refined the thunderbolts, the stronger he would become. Even perfected Immortal Jingyu did not dare to imagine what level the Thunder Emperor would reach if this continued. 11 perfected Immortals attacked at the same time. Spirit treasures, divine powers and secret skills descended once more and surged over. 9 Firmament instant thunder. The Thunder Emperor's gaze intensified as he gripped his weapon and channeled a dermic art. Lightning surged in his palm and burst forth. Boom! An incomparably blinding light burst forth from the startling evil spear and was even more dazzling than the blazing sun. It spread and enveloped the entire Absolute Thunder City. At that moment, all the cultivators in Absolute Thunder City lost their sight. Even perfected Immortal Jingyu and the other 10 perfected Immortal experts exclaimed. Their vision turned white and they could not see anything as tears streamed down their faces. Su Zimo closed his eyes hurriedly. The 9 Firmament Instant Thunder was a secret skill of the Void Thunder Manual and was extremely powerful. Once released, if one could not dodge in time, they might not be able to defend even if they released their visual techniques. Cultivators with insufficient cultivation would go blind. Young friend, thank you for your tripod. Right then, the voice of the Thunder Emperor sounded in his mind. Immediately after, something appeared in Su Zimo's consciousness, the Hell Suppression Tripod. With a thought, Su Zimo understood the Thunder Emperor's intentions. The Thunder Emperor did not merely use the 9 Firmament Instant Thunder as an attack. More than that, he wanted to make use of this secret skill to blind the cultivators of Absolute Thunder City momentarily, and seize the opportunity to return the Hell Suppression Tripod to him. This tripod has a powerful background. Now that it's exposed, you have to use it carefully in the future lest you attract strong foes. The Thunder Emperor paused for a moment and reminded again, seemingly worried. In that short period of time, perfected Immortal Jingyu and the other 10 perfected Immortal experts regained their vision. Ha! Although perfected Immortal Jingyu's eyes were filled with tears, he burst into laughter. Feng Cantian, you've been suppressed for hundreds of thousands of years. In the end, your strength hasn't recovered to its peak. Back at the 9 Firmament Immortal meet, you were still at your peak. When this 9 Firmament Instant Thunder was released, it blinded a perfected Immortal. Now that's all there is to it. The Thunder Emperor sneered and looked down at the 11 perfected Immortal experts present with the startling evil spear in his hands, saying proudly, so what if I haven't recovered to my peak? You think that you can suppress me with just a bunch of useless old and sick people? How arrogant! Brazen! A few perfected Immortals were enraged and hollered at the Thunder Emperor. Even though they were already in their later years, they were still perfected Immortals and would be respected no matter where they went. But now, they had become the useless old and sick people that the Thunder Emperor was referring to. Feng Cantian. Perfected Immortal Jingyu had a calm expression and said in a deep voice, you won't get to be arrogant for long. The execution saber has long flown away. King Tianxing will definitely come if he senses it. Another perfected Immortal said, King Jin will sense the shattering of the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar as well. At that time, you'll be in an impenetrable trap. So what if you recover to your peak? The divine firmament of today is no longer the divine firmament of the past. Who do you think you are, Feng Cantian? You won't be able to escape from the great Jin Immortal Kingdom, let alone the divine firmament Immortal domain. Many perfected Immortals surrounded the Thunder Emperor once more. Right now, perfected Immortal Jingyu and the other 10 perfected Immortal experts no longer intended to suppress the Thunder Emperor. Everyone was only prepared to hold the Thunder Emperor back. Once King Tianxing arrived, the Thunder Emperor would naturally not be able to escape. Su Zimo frowned slightly. It was clear that perfected Immortal Jing Yu and the others wanted to anger the Thunder Emperor so that he would stay here and fight them while they awaited reinforcements. In midair, the Thunder Emperor raised his head slightly and lightning surged in his eyes. He looked down at the surroundings and burst into laughter. Good, good, good. Even a bunch of nobodies are trying to threaten me. You guys are just trying to anger me and delay me in Absolute Thunder City. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu and the others were expressionless even after being exposed by the Thunder Emperor and merely sneered. Initially, I had no intention of paying attention to you guys and wanted to leave right away. The Thunder Emperor looked at the startling evil spear in his hands and suddenly gripped it tightly, nodding. All right, since that's the case, we'll do as you wish. It's not too late to leave after killing all of you. That was the boldness of the Thunder Emperor. Although it was logical to leave right away, it was not as satisfying as killing everyone before him. The Thunder Emperor's startling evil spear paused heavily in midair and the entire Absolute Thunder City shook violently. The city walls were filled with cracks and showed signs of collapse. Many ancient structures began to crumble and dust billowed. Absolute Thunder City fell into chaos and wails could be heard everywhere. Many cultivators fled in all directions, wanting to escape from Absolute Thunder City and the battlefield. Mixed in the crowd, Su Zimo retreated while looking back at the battlefield in midair. The Thunder Emperor had already begun fighting against the 11 perfected immortal experts. Even surrounded by 11 perfected immortals, the Thunder Emperor's figure was still the most dazzling. The Thunder Emperor was bathed in lightning and wielded the startling evil spear. Everywhere the spear pointed, lightning surged and everyone had to avoid its sharpness. Chapter 1960, Massacre. Chapter 1960. Massacre. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the hands of the Thunder Emperor, the startling evil spear trembled continuously and shone with a terrifying aura. Su Zimo focused his gaze. There were a total of 9 scorch marks on the startling evil spear. 9 tribulations pure yang. Shatter. The Thunder Emperor wielded the startling evil spear and hollered, thrusting his spear towards an incoming ancient bell. Although there were no unnecessary movements, there was a hint of fusion with nature. Dong! The startling evil spear struck the ancient bell and a distant sound echoed. The next moment, the ancient bell shattered. After a slight pause, the startling evil spear pierced through the ancient bell and turned into a streak of lightning, entering the chest of the perfected immortal behind the ancient bell. Boom! The perfected immortal old man's eyes were widened and he could not react in time. A gigantic hole of blood appeared on his chest from the startling evil spear and the wound was charred black. The berserk power of thunder surged into the perfected immortal old man's body and destroyed his life force in a short period of time. Even the essence spirit of the perfected immortal expert could not escape. In the blink of an eye, his consciousness was occupied by lightning and his essence spirit was destroyed, buried within. A single spear thrust killed a perfected immortal. That was the Thunder Emperor. That was the pure Yang spirit treasure, the startling evil spear. Everyone shuddered. However, at that moment, everyone had no way out and could only grit their teeth and attack with all their might, not daring to hold back at all. Perfected Immortal Jingyu bit his tongue gently and spat out a mouthful of essence blood onto the ancient bronze mirror, shouting, "Blood transformation mirror light." Swoosh! A blood-colored light burst forth from the ancient bronze mirror, and enveloped the Thunder Emperor with a hint of evil. The bloodlight consumed the essence blood of perfected Immortal Jingyu, and was extremely powerful. Even perfected immortals of the same cultivation realm would not be able to withstand it for long before turning into blood. Humph! You overestimate yourself. The Thunder Emperor sneered and pointed his startling evil spear at the ancient bronze mirror through the void. A thunderbolt surged out and followed the descending bloodlight, colliding against the ancient bronze mirror instantly. Crack! Cracks appeared on the ancient bronze mirror and it was knocked over by the thunderbolt. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu's expression dimmed and he spat out a mouthful of blood from the blow as well. The startling evil spear contained the most ferocious power of thunder, and was the most effective against evil secret skills. The bloodlight released by the ancient bronze mirror was countered by the startling evil spear. At the same time, the remaining 9 perfected immortal experts swarmed forward. 3 heads 6 arms. The Thunder Emperor hollered and released a supreme divine power. Another 2 heads and 4 arms grew as he fought against the 10 perfected immortals. Clang, clang, clang. Boom, boom, boom. In midair, divine powers and secret skills collided continuously. Sparks flew in the fight between the spirit treasures. At that moment, the might of the pure Yang spirit treasure was revealed. Almost none of the spirit treasures summoned by perfected immortal Jing Yu and the others could defend against the power of the startling evil spear, and more than half of them were crippled on the spot. Initially, perfected immortal Jing Yu and the others could match the Thunder Emperor even when they joined forces. However, as time passed by, the Thunder Emperor bathed in lightning and devoured heaven and earth essence chi as he fought. Not only did the power in his body not weaken, it became stronger instead. Bang! A perfected immortal old man could not dodge in time and was struck by the Thunder Emperor's punch. His entire body exploded on the spot and turned into ashes in the lightning. The Thunder Emperor wielded the startling evil spear with both hands and fought against many spirit treasures. His 4 empty palms conjured different dermic seals. Although it seemed simple, every single dermic seal contained some sort of supreme Tao and deduced the power of thunder to its limits. Su Zimo's eyes widened as he watched the Thunder Emperor's every move. Outsiders watching this battle might only be amazed at the power of the Thunder Emperor. As for Su Zimo, he obtained the true inheritance of the Thunder Emperor, and his comprehension of the Void Thunder Manual deepened as he watched the battle. Many of the questions that he had at that time were cleared up at that moment. A realization flashed through Su Zimo's mind. Although the Thunder Emperor was fighting against the perfected immortal experts, he was also demonstrating the inheritance of the Thunder technique to Su Zimo intentionally. Perfected immortal Jing Yu and the others had expended a lot of energy after the battle. Apart from him, the others were already in their later years to begin with. Now that they had experienced such a huge battle, they felt exhausted. However, the power of the Thunder Emperor was getting stronger and stronger. Die! The lightning in the Thunder Emperor's eyes had already reached their limits and suddenly burst forth, landing on a perfected immortal old man. Boom! The perfected immortal old man hurriedly blocked with his sword. However, his sword could not defend against the thunderbolt at all. The perfected immortal expert was torn apart by the Thunder Emperor's visual technique and died. Ha 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 ha! The Thunder Emperor reared his head in laughter. You guys must have death wishes. You're only at the level of condensing true essence and can't even defend against a single gaze of mine. Poof! At the same time, the momentum of the Thunder Emperor's spear suddenly changed. From firm and ferocious, it became soft as water and broke through the defense of a perfected immortal, sending him flying. That change was truly shocking, and this person could not defend against it at all. The power of thunder surged into his consciousness instantly after he was struck by the startling evil spear and destroyed his essence spirit. At the same time, the Thunder Emperor conjured hand seals with both hands, and a gigantic lightning cage descended, enveloping another perfected immortal expert. The Thunder Emperor's hands suddenly closed. The lightning cage closed rapidly as well, and the perfected immortal expert inside had nowhere to run. The moment his essence spirit flew out, it was electrocuted to death. Including perfected immortal Jing Yu, there were originally 11 perfected immortal experts. But now, in less than 10 breaths, there were only 6 left on the battlefield. The Thunder Emperor with 3 heads and 6 arms had a torrential aura and had the complete advantage with his startling evil spear. Thunder Palm! The Thunder Emperor hollered and extended his palm, slapping 2 perfected immortal experts through the void. Raging lightning surged along the Thunder Emperor's palm and gathered in midair, forming a gigantic thunder palm. The gigantic thunder palm covered the skies and descended. The 2 perfected immortals could not dodge at all and could only summon their spirit treasures and release all their divine powers and secret skills to defend. However, none of those spirit treasures, divine powers or secret skills could stop the descent of the thunder palm. Bang! The thunder palm descended and the world shook. Initially, Absolute Thunder City was already on the verge of collapse. At that moment, it crumbled completely. There were only 3 perfected immortals left. All 3 of them felt deep regret. Why did they have to anger that person? This was Feng Cantian, the supreme perfected immortal who fought against King Jin back then and swept through the 9 firmament. So what if he was released? Now that the divine firmament immortal domain had changed, even if he could escape, it would be difficult for him to survive in divine firmament mainland. At that thought, the two perfected immortal old men split into two directions and turned to flee. Humph! The Thunder Emperor sneered and chased after one of them in a flash. At the same time, he threw the startling evil spear in reverse and it flashed like lightning, piercing the other perfected immortal old man instantly. The Thunder Emperor killed another person. Chapter 1961. Departure. Chapter 1961. Departure. The perfected immortal who escaped did not manage to run far when he felt the crackling of thunder behind him. It arrived instantly at a shocking speed. No matter how fast the old man was, he could not match the speed of the Thunder Emperor. Feng Cantian. When the perfected immortal old man saw that he could not escape, he stopped in his tracks and shouted with a tragic expression, "You've gone too far." "I went too far," the Thunder Emperor sneered. "Compared to your methods, it's already benevolent of me to kill you." King Tianxing imprisoned the Thunder Emperor in a dungeon beneath Absolute Thunder City for hundreds of thousands of years. Furthermore, he locked the latter with chains and nailed the latter to a stone pillar with his saber. The amount of physical, mental and psychological torture was unimaginable. Death was nothing compared to that. "Feng Cantian, I'll fight you to the death." The perfected immortal old man's eyes widened and a resplendent glow burst forth from his glabella as a shuddering aura spread. "You want to self-destruct your Tao fruit?" The Thunder Emperor narrowed his eyes slightly. The power of a Tao fruit self-destruction was unparalleled. However, if the Tao fruit self-destructed, one might not even have the chance to reincarnate. Therefore, generally speaking, perfected immortal experts who had cultivated to a certain realm would not choose this path. But now, the perfected immortal old man had already fallen into madness and was completely disregarding everything in order to fight the Thunder Emperor. "You won't even have the chance to self-destruct in front of me." The Thunder Emperor harumphed coldly and suddenly opened his mouth, releasing a deafening thunderclap. Poof! The sound of thunder pierced the perfected immortal old man's eardrums. Two streams of blood spewed from his ears. The sound of thunder was like a gigantic spear that pierced through his ears and head. The perfected immortal old man felt his mind go blank and his body shuddered. His Tao fruit was already shattered. However, it was severely injured by the Thunder Emperor's sound domain secret skill, and he froze on the spot with a dazed gaze. The Thunder Emperor advanced and stabbed him to death casually. The battle did not last long, and of the 11 perfected immortal experts, only perfected immortal Jingyu was left. The cultivators that escaped from the city turned back. The Thunder Emperor stood on the ruins of Absolute Thunder City with the corpses of 10 perfected immortals beneath his feet. Wielding the startling evil spear, he stood proudly with a peerless bearing. This city had suppressed and imprisoned the Thunder Emperor for hundreds of thousands of years. But now that the Thunder Emperor had escaped, he overturned Absolute Thunder City and trampled it beneath his feet. Perfected immortal Jingyu stood on the ruins as well and did not choose to escape. He knew that given the Thunder Emperor's capabilities, there was no way he could escape even if he wanted to. Suddenly, the Thunder Emperor clutched his chest and coughed heavily. His body convulsed violently and his face was pale, as though something had happened to his body. Perfected immortal Jingyu's gaze shifted. The clothes on the Thunder Emperor's chest were stained red and it was extremely striking. Perfected immortal Jingyu clearly remembered that they did not manage to hit the Thunder Emperor's chest when they surrounded him earlier on. Furthermore, even if they had injured the Thunder Emperor previously, the latter had already recovered after obtaining the startling evil spear to connect with the power of thunder in the world. That smear of blood. Perfected immortal Jingyu's heart skipped a beat and he quickly understood the reason. The execution saber. The wound on the Thunder Emperor's chest should have been left behind by the execution saber. The execution saber was King Tianxing's Grotto Heaven spirit treasure, and the Thunder Emperor was pinned to the stone pillar for hundreds of thousands of years. Even with the Thunder Emperor's capabilities, it was difficult to heal from those injuries. The Thunder Emperor broke free and suppressed the wound the entire time. However, the battle earlier on triggered the wound and caused it to relapse, causing blood to seep out. In that short period of time, the Thunder Emperor's robes were already stained with blood.
It was clear how serious his injuries were. When Su Zimo saw that, he was worried for the Thunder Emperor as well. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu was not far away. His gaze flickered and his expression changed, as though he wanted to attack but was wary of something. After a long silence, Perfected Immortal Jing Yu moved. He did not attack the Thunder Emperor. Instead, he retreated and distanced himself from the latter. He did not know if the Thunder Emperor's current appearance was a disguise. More than that, he did not know how much the wound on the Thunder Emperor's chest affected him. He did not dare to take the risk. Even though the Thunder Emperor before him seemed extremely weak, he did not dare to advance and seize the opportunity to escape. Fu. When he saw that, the Thunder Emperor laughed with a mocking expression. How can a cowardly rat be a county governor? Perfected Immortal Jing Yu remained silent and watched the Thunder Emperor's every move warily. Forget it, I'll spare your life today. The Thunder Emperor said indifferently, Go back and tell Tianxing that I, Feng Cantian, have returned. Get them to prepare their necks for my personal visit. With that said, lightning flashed on the Thunder Emperor's body as he carried his startling evil spear and sped into the distance. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu had a conflicted expression as he clenched and unclenched his fists a few times. In the end, he did not chase in pursuit. Su Zimo noticed that and shook his head. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu had lost the final chance to retain the Thunder Emperor. Given the Thunder Emperor's character, he was extremely heroic and would not bother to fake serious injuries just to lure Perfected Immortal Jing Yu out. Finally, the Thunder Emperor left directly. This also meant that the injuries on the Thunder Emperor's chest were extremely serious and it was even difficult for him to kill Perfected Immortal Jing Yu. That was also the reason why the Thunder Emperor chose to leave. However, Perfected Immortal Jing Yu was shocked by the Thunder Emperor's aura and methods. He did not dare to attack even as he saw the Thunder Emperor's figure gradually disappear. At that moment, Su Zimo finally understood. It was something that the Thunder Emperor had said to him in the 10 Absolute Hell. Absolute Thunder City will be in chaos soon and I won't be able to take care of you. Be careful and leave in the chaos. The Thunder Emperor must have expected this battle in Absolute Thunder City. He knew his body's condition as well. If he brought Su Zimo along, there was a high chance that neither of them would be able to escape. At that time, Su Zimo would also become the target of everyone and be hunted down by the factions of the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom. But now, the Thunder Emperor wanted to help Su Zimo hide. Furthermore, Su Zimo had been extremely cautious in the 10 Absolute Hell and no one knew who helped the Thunder Emperor escape. After the Thunder Emperor escaped, Su Zimo successfully hid himself and escaped from the 10 Absolute Hell. However, the Thunder Emperor's injuries. Su Zimo sighed internally. The battle affected the Thunder Emperor's old injuries. At that time, the Thunder Emperor might have to face the pursuit of the Immortal Kings and it was unknown if he could truly escape danger. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu was right about one thing. The current Divine Firmament was no longer the Divine Firmament Immortal domain hundreds of thousands of years ago. Although the Thunder Emperor escaped from the 10 Absolute Hell, he won't be able to advance a single step in the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and every single step forward would be treacherous. It was almost foreseeable that a violent commotion might break out in the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom, or even the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain. Su Zimo was prepared to leave this place and find a quiet and secluded place to cultivate the Void Thunder Manual in seclusion for a period of time to avoid this storm. Chapter 1962. King Tianxing. Chapter 1962. King Tianxing. Su Zimo looked at the ruins of Absolute Thunder City and lamented internally. There were still many spirit treasure shards left in the ruins, most of them shattered by the startling evil spear. While those spirit treasure shards were useless to others, they were extremely useful to the Hell Suppression Tripod. If he could devour it, he might be able to repair the third tripod wall. However, Su Zimo weighed the pros and cons and gave up on that thought. Although the temptation was great, it was way too dangerous. There was no need to take the risk at such a sensitive and chaotic time. There would be other chances in the future. Su Zimo blended into the crowd and headed into the distance. He did not dare to walk too quickly lest he attracted attention. Suddenly,
An extremely terrifying aura descended from the skies with a rampant might. The entire world seemed to be overwhelmed and trembled slightly. That aura was much stronger than the Thunder Emperor, perfected Immortal Jingyu and the others. Everyone was shocked and looked up. The clouds in the firmaments changed and a void suddenly collapsed towards the middle, forming a gigantic pitch-black vortex. In the pitch-black vortex, a figure appeared faintly with a murderous aura that was sinister. Many black immortals could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground with pale expressions, keeping mum out of fear. Immortal King. Only an immortal king could release such a terrifying aura and might. The cultivators below even had a feeling that the figure in the firmaments could kill them all with a single breath. Su Zimo narrowed his gaze slightly and looked at the high and mighty figure in the firmaments. This was an immortal king. Given his current cultivation, this was a terrifying existence that could not be reached. If he wanted to take revenge on King Yunyu, he had to reach that realm. Greetings, King Tianxing. When perfected Immortal Jingyu saw that person, he knelt down hurriedly and kowtowed with a terrified expression. The sinner of the lower worlds escaped from absolute Thunder City. I'm unforgivable. Please punish me, King Tianxing. Get up first. A voice sounded from the pitch-black vortex, resolute as metal and stone. Perfected Immortal Jingyu stood up hurriedly. What happened? King Tianxing continued asking. Perfected Immortal Jingyu recounted everything that happened in Absolute Thunder City today in detail without hiding anything. Someone helped him. After hearing that, King Tianxing said 3 words. Perfected Immortal Jingyu shuddered in fear and knelt down once more. Immortal King, I truly didn't know or discover anyone who helped Feng Cantian escape. Others might not have such a deep understanding of the 10 Absolute Formation. However, King Tianxing knew that without the help of outsiders, there was no way the Thunder Emperor could break free on his own. Perfected Immortal Jingyu continued, I'll order for all the cultivators in the city to be imprisoned and interrogated one by one. There's no need. King Tianxing said indifferently, if that person helped, he would have left a long time ago. How could he still stay here? Furthermore, anyone who can pull out my execution saber is at least a perfected immortal. Apart from you, there are no other perfected immortals here. How strong was King Tianxing's spirit consciousness? With a gentle sweep, he enveloped a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers around Absolute Thunder City. No living being could escape his senses. Su Zimo lowered his head and no longer looked at King Tianxing lest he attracted attention. He was injured by my execution saber and can't run. Even if he can escape, I can capture him back. King Tianxing harumphed. Jingyu, you didn't manage to handle the ice butterfly incident in Green Cloud County properly. Now something like this has happened. King Tianxing's tone was cold as a blade, making one shudder. Perfected Immortal Jingyu was drenched in sweat as he lowered his head hurriedly. I deserve to die. Please spare my life, King Tianxing. There was no sound from the pitch-black vortex for a long time. This period of silence felt like years to perfected Immortal Jingyu. A long time later, King Tianxing's voice sounded once more. Although you're in Absolute Thunder City, you failed to stop Feng Cantian. While you can avoid death, you can't escape punishment. The moment he said that, a golden light burst forth from the pitch-black vortex and descended on perfected Immortal Jingyu instantly. A bloodlight flashed. One of perfected Immortal Jingyu's arms was severed by the golden light and blood gushed out from the wound. I'll sever your arm for the time being today. Your arm will only recover after that sinner is captured again. King Tianxing said indifferently. Thank you for not killing me, King Tianxing. Perfected Immortal Jingyu was sweating from the pain but he still kowtowed in gratitude. King Tianxing was in charge of the punishment and killing in the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom. The loss of a single arm today was already considered mercy. Under normal circumstances, perfected immortal experts could regrow severed limbs with a single thought. However, there was a faint golden light covering the wound on perfected Immortal Jingyu's broken arm. That was the power of King Tianxing. As long as the golden light was around, his broken arm would never grow again. Furthermore, even if he could regrow his arm, perfected Immortal Jingyu did not have the guts. When he saw that, Su Zimo felt emotional. Perfected Immortal Jingyu was a county governor. Be it in terms of strength, status, or reputation, he was in the upper echelons of the great Jin Immortal Kingdom. However, in front of King Tianxing, a single sentence could determine his fate. This was the cruelty of the upper world. Even perfected immortal experts could not withstand a single blow from an immortal king. If that was the case for perfected immortal Jingyu today, it was even worse for the Thunder Emperor in the past. A moment later, the pitch-black vortex in the firmaments gradually closed and the figure within vanished as well. The shuddering aura gradually dissipated. Many cultivators heaved a sigh of relief. When King Tianxing appeared earlier on, everyone felt as though a cold guillotine was hovering above their heads and could slash down at any moment. Perfected immortal Jingyu waited for King Tianxing to leave before standing up. He looked at the many city lords and exalted immortals not far away and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, you can return now. Gather everyone and search for Feng Cantian with all your might. Don't let go of any clues." Understood. Many city lords and exalted immortals replied hurriedly and dispersed. Perfected immortal Jingyu pondered for a moment and tidied up the battlefield before leaving the ruins of Absolute Thunder City. Su Zimo was secretly worried. It could be predicted that after today, all the immortal soldiers guarding the great Jin Immortal Kingdom would be mobilized and martial law would be imposed everywhere to search for anyone suspicious. He did not know if Senior Thunder Emperor could escape the pursuit of the entire great Jin Immortal Kingdom. Su Zimo took a deep breath and suppressed his worries for the time being. Given his current cultivation, he could not help much even if he wanted to. Right now, the most important thing for him was to cultivate in seclusion and break through to the Earth Essence realm as soon as possible. This time round, he had benefited quite a bit from the 10 Absolute formation. If he could comprehend something in seclusion, he might have a chance of becoming an Earth Immortal within 100 years. Just as Su Zimo was pondering, a warning flashed in his mind. Chapter 1963. Another Change. Chapter 1963. Another Change. There were many cultivators in Absolute Thunder City. Because of this battle, Absolute Thunder City was reduced to ruins and at least tens of millions of cultivators had nowhere to go and were retreating out of the city. Amidst the crowd, Su Zimo suddenly sensed that something was amiss. The surrounding crowd was in chaos. However, dozens of cultivators walked in his direction and gradually formed an encirclement. More importantly, he felt an immense killing intent. The dozens of cultivators were all grade 9 black immortals. If he was not wrong, they should be the ones who participated in the hunting meet earlier on. However, Su Zimo was puzzled. He did not know these people and had never had any conflicts with them in the 10 Absolute Hell. Why would they target him? The distance between him and the dozens of grade 9 black immortals decreased. Initially, those people hid in the crowd and tried their best to hide their tracks. But now, their gazes were ferocious as they summoned their dermic treasures and weapons without concealing the killing intent in their hearts. Su Zimo stopped in his tracks and surveyed his surroundings, asking coldly, "What are you guys trying to do?" "Kill you." One of them hollered and leaped up. Wielding a Chaos Essence iron rod, he smashed it towards Su Zimo's head and attacked first. Su Zimo's expression was calm and he did not even look. He only attacked when the Chaos Essence iron rod was about to smash his head. Piak! His attack was released after but arrived sooner. Su Zimo's fair palm grabbed the Chaos Essence iron rod without budging at all. "You!" The grade 9 black immortal's eyes widened in shock. The Chaos Essence iron rod was a superior black-grade dermic treasure. Although its grade was not too high, it was strong and could match supreme black-grade dermic treasures. But now, this seemingly weak green-robed cultivator had grabbed his Chaos Essence iron rod with his palm. No matter how he tried, the Chaos Essence iron rod seemed to be stuck in the green-robed cultivator's palm and could not move at all. At that moment, he was still in midair, unable to head up or down. What's up with that person's strength? The grade 9 black immortal was shocked. Right then, Su Zimo gripped the Chaos Essence iron rod tightly and thrust forward. Ah! The grade 9 black immortal shrieked tragically and could not hold on to the Chaos Essence iron rod at all, causing his palms to bleed. Poof! The next moment, the Chaos Essence iron rod pierced his chest and protruded from his back. In Su Zimo's hands, The Chaos Essence Iron Rod pierced the person like a gigantic spear.
This was not the 10 absolute hell, and the many city lords that were truly a threat to Zimo had already dispersed. There was no need for him to worry.
Indeed, he did not want to fight these black immortals of the lower worlds. However, if they wanted his life, he would not hold back either. Exerting strength in his palm, Zimo shook the Chaos Essence Iron Rod gently. Shing! The grade 9 black immortal's body was shattered by the Chaos Essence Iron Rod instantly, and he died on the spot with fresh blood spreading. Kill! The remaining black immortals were not afraid at all. All of them roared with bloodshot eyes and attacked one after another. Dozens of dermic treasures descended. Body immobilization technique. Wind summoning. Rain summoning. Purple star hand. Many lesser divine powers and secret skills burst forth at the same time. Zimo's blood chi was strong, and even without using the bloodline of his green lotus true body, he broke free from the restraints of the body immobilization technique with a single tremble. Swoosh! In a flash, a golden light darted out from where he was, shuttling through the dermic treasures, divine powers and secret skills with ease. Against those black immortals, 2 lesser divine powers, heavenly feet and boundless golden light, were enough. Bang! Zimo raised the Chaos Essence Iron Rod that he snatched earlier on and smashed it on the head of a grade 9 black immortal, causing his head to bleed and brain juice to splatter. Immediately after, he did not stop and arrived before another grade 9 black immortal in the blink of an eye, swinging the rod. Bang! The grade 9 black immortal was sent flying and was split into 2 by the Chaos Essence Iron Rod. Zimo's figure transformed into a golden streak of light and shuttled through the crowd without any resistance. Everywhere he went, a grade 9 black immortal would be sent flying or injured. This was not an encirclement. This was a one-sided suppression. Before long, dozens of grade 9 black immortals were suppressed by Zimo alone. The remaining black immortals were scared out of their wits as well and fled into the distance with frightened expressions. Zimo could not be bothered to chase after them and threw away the Chaos Essence Iron Rod casually, prepared to leave.
Right then, a few tragic cries sounded not far away. Zimo glanced sideways and saw that the few black immortals who escaped earlier on had already been sliced into 2 by some sharp weapon and were dead. Above the corpses of the black immortals stood a few women in veils, wielding long swords that were as thin as cicada wings. With a flick of their wrists, the swords retracted into their sleeves and vanished. Piak, piak, piak. Right then, an applause sounded from a dare not far away. Amazing! A man's voice sounded and praised. Zimo had already guessed the identity of the intruder without even turning back. Prince Yuan-Zhua. The few veiled women who attacked earlier on were the maidservants of Prince Yuan-Zhua. Zimo turned around. A carriage stopped in midair with 1,000 beautiful women surrounding it. In the carriage, a young man was leaning against it. It was Prince Yuan-Zhua. That person did not leave. Earlier on, when the Thunder Emperor attacked and fought against the 11 perfected immortal experts, he saw with his own eyes that Prince Yuan-Zhua had already left Absolute Thunder City. To think that this person would return. The Thunder Emperor had just escaped and his ferocity was at its peak. Even perfected immortals died one after another. However, this Prince Yuan-Zhua, who was only an Earth immortal with a noble status, actually had the guts to return. This was beyond Zimo's expectations. Prince Yuan-Zhua stood up from his carriage and looked at Zimo with a smile. I was indeed not wrong. Your methods are not weak. Although the hunting meet was forced to stop with the Thunder Emperor's escape, Prince Yuan-Zhua did not give up on his plan. This matter was way too important to him. Someone like the Thunder Emperor would naturally be dealt with by King Tianxing, his brothers and father. It was not his place to worry. At the same time, Zimo understood. The dozens of grade 9 black immortals that attacked him earlier on should have been instructed by Prince Yuan-Zhua. His goal was to test Zimo's strength. Actually, when he was fighting, Zimo felt as though he was being spied on. However, there were many people around and it was normal. It was difficult to determine if the other party had any ill intentions. Zimo observed his surroundings silently. There were 3,000 women on the side of Prince Yuan-Zhua. Although all of them were at the Earth Essence realm, almost all of them surrounded him.
If he released his innate divine power, the rock wings, he would definitely have a chance to escape from this place. Right then, Su Zimo's gaze shifted and he saw someone. He suppressed that thought for the time being. Chapter 1964. Spirit Consciousness Imprint. Chapter 1964. Spirit Consciousness Imprint. Not far away from Prince Yuan's carriage, a group of people stood.
There were more than 100 of them and they were drenched in blood. They were the black immortals of the lower worlds who entered the 10 absolute hell earlier on.
Tianxing was among them. At that moment, Tianxing was expressionless as she looked at Su Zimo and shook her head gently. That action was so subtle that it was almost imperceptible. However, Su Zimo knew in his heart that given Tianxi's character, she would not reveal such unnecessary actions unless there was no choice. It was more like a reminder. Tianxing could tell that he wanted to escape and was warning him. Su Zimo was expressionless and did not act rashly. He cupped his fists in the direction of Prince Yuanzhua and said, "I'm Su Zimo. May I know what you mean by that? I've already said that I'll choose 100 people on the hunting ranking to be my followers after this hunting meet." Prince Yuanzhua flicked his fingernails and let out a faint sound of metal clashing. Su Zimo's expression was calm. "I don't seem to be on the hunting ranking." "That's right." Prince Yuanzhua laughed. "However, I've noticed you long ago. The dozens of grade 9 black immortals attacking you earlier on was actually a test for you. If you won them, you would have had a chance to be the last among this 100. Su Zimo's gaze swept past Tianxi's side and he counted in his heart.
There were 99 cultivators there and there were exactly 100 including him.
Of course, if you had lost, any of the dozens of black immortals who killed you would have been the last lucky person. Prince Yuanzhua continued with a smile. He did not care about the lives of the black immortals of the lower worlds at all, including Su Zimo. Although he paid attention to Su Zimo, he would definitely not step in if Su Zimo was truly defeated and killed. "I'm flattered that you think highly of me, Your Highness," Su Zimo replied indifferently. Prince Yuanzhua continued, "Congratulations on passing the second test." Su Zimo frowned slightly in confusion. "The second test." Prince Yuanzhua said coldly, "You were very honest and did not choose to escape earlier on. If you had, you would have been a corpse by now." Su Zimo was silent but was still in slight disbelief internally. If he released his extreme speed divine power, he should have a chance to escape. Right then, Prince Yuanzhua stood up slowly and looked at Tianxing and the others who were not far away, shouting, "All of you listen up. Apart from talent and methods that surpass others, my followers have to be absolutely loyal and obedient. If any of you dare to betray me, I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death." There was a hint of ruthlessness in the tone of Prince Yuanzhua that made one shudder. "Don't worry, Your Highness." Li Tian was the first to stand out and shout, "It's my honor to have the chance to follow Your Highness. Not only would I not betray you, if I discover anyone who's disloyal, I'll be the first to step in and clean up the traitors for you, Your Highness." With that said, Li Tian surveyed his surroundings with a ferocious gaze. "Very good." Prince Yuanzhua nodded in satisfaction. He flipped his palm and took out the pitch-black hunting ranking, unfolding it slowly. There were 100 black immortals written on the hunting ranking. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. He could even see his name on the hunting ranking. Prince Yuanzhua said smugly, "The hunting badge originates from the hunting ranking. When you engrave your spirit consciousness imprint on the hunting badge, it will be displayed on the hunting ranking at the same time. With your spirit consciousness imprints, I can sense you no matter where you go with the help of the hunting ranking." Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. It was only now that he understood Tianxi's warning. This hunting ranking was the true threat. If he released his extreme speed divine power, even if he could escape from this place, it would be difficult for him to escape from the detection of Prince Yuanzhua with his spirit consciousness imprint on the hunting ranking. Therefore, he would be hunted continuously. No matter where he was or where he was hidden, it was difficult for him to escape the detection of Prince Yuanzhua. At that time, he would indeed be doomed. Back when Su Zimo left his spirit consciousness imprint on the hunting badge, he was already hesitant. However, he had no choice given the circumstances.
To think that the spirit consciousness imprint would become a sharp sword that hovered above his head and could slash down at any moment. Su Zimo heaved a sigh of relief and gave up on the thought of escaping for the time being. He wanted to see what Prince Yuanzhua was plotting by spending so much effort to choose 100 black immortals who were absolutely loyal to him. Time to head back. Prince Yuanzhua waved his hand and returned to the carriage. Immediately, women came forward. Some of them massaged his shoulders and some of them hammered his legs gently to his satisfaction. Su Zimo arrived among the 100 people as well. They were on a small immortal ship that had prepared new clothes for them as well. There were many immortal fruits, wine and even healing elixirs. Li Tian and the others were covered in injuries after the battle in the 10 Absolute Hell. At that moment, they needed those items and dispersed quickly. A few people stood on the deck of the immortal ship. Although Tianxing killed many people in the 10 Absolute Hell, she looked refreshing and did not have any bloodstains. Given her character, there was no way she would get together with others to drink and have fun. Tianxing stood on the deck and looked at the sky ahead with a calm expression, deep in thought. Just as Su Zimo was about to advance, Tianxing's voice sounded in his consciousness. "Don't come over." Tianxing's back was facing Su Zimo and she did not turn back, merely sending a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness. "Why?" Su Zimo's activated his spirit consciousness and asked. Tianxing said, "You had better pretend not to know me lest you get into trouble." After a brief pause she continued, "Also, I've just returned you a favor. I still owe you one." Su Zimo shrugged his shoulders gently. The reason why he helped Tianxing was mainly because of the Thunder Emperor. He did not care or expect her to return any favors. However, Tianxing took this matter seriously and calculated it extremely clearly, as though she was unwilling to owe anyone anything. "What are you doing?" Su Zimo sent a voice transmission and asked. Tianxing remained silent, as though she did not want to speak to Su Zimo anymore. However, Su Zimo did not give up and continued asking, "When Prince Yuanzhua retreated, I noticed that you followed him secretly." "It's none of your business. You'd better not ask further." After a long silence, Tianxing finally spoke with a cold tone. Su Zimo smiled. Was she trying to assassinate the prince? Su Zimo could vaguely guess that Tianxing's target was most likely Prince Yuanzhua. However, he knew better than anyone that there was no chance to get close to Prince Yuanzhua, let alone assassinate him. Notwithstanding the fact that the cultivation of Prince Yuanzhua was already higher than Tianxing, the 3,000 Earth Immortal beauties beside Prince Yuanzhua alone were enough to give one a headache. Chapter 1965, Emperor's Tomb. Chapter 1965, Emperor's Tomb. For assassins, patience was the most important factor. If there was no suitable opportunity, Tianxing would rather wait than attack rashly. It was especially so for experts like Prince Yuanzhua, who was a major cultivation realm above her. If she failed, she would definitely die without a chance to escape. If there was no chance, she could wait for a year, 10 years or even hundreds of years. She only had 2 goals for coming here. One of the goals was the Thunder Emperor. Although she possessed the true dragon anti-water bead, she knew that even if she could clear the 10 Absolute formation, she could not save the Thunder Emperor. In her heart, it was enough if she could just take a mere look at the Thunder Emperor. After failing to clear the formation, she thought that she would never have the chance to meet the Thunder Emperor again. To think that the situation later on would be completely beyond her imagination. Not only did she see the Thunder Emperor with her own eyes, he even broke free and killed 10 perfected immortal experts domineeringly before leaving in a carefree manner. At that moment, she was expressionless, but there was an indescribable joy in her heart. Now that the Thunder Emperor was free, she was only left with a second goal. Prince Yuanzhua. Of course, those were her inner thoughts and secrets. Even if she owed Su Zimo a favor, she could not tell him about it. What's the true purpose of the hunting meet held by Prince Yuanzhua this time round? Right then, Su Zimo asked again. Tianxing sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness and said indifferently, "Didn't he say? He wanted to choose 100 absolutely loyal followers and give us a chance to change our fates." Phew! Su Zimo chuckled and asked,
Would you believe such nonsense? Why not? Tianxing asked as well. Su Zimo said, given his status, there's no need for him to go through so much trouble if he wants 100 absolutely loyal followers. As long as he waves his hand, disciples of the major sects and descendants of aristocratic families will flock to him. We won't even have a chance. Furthermore, the hunting meet is a game for the exalted immortals to begin with. They control the fates of all living beings in the lower worlds and take joy in it. Why would Prince Yuanzhua choose 100 people out of goodwill to give these people from the lower worlds a chance to change their fates? That's ironic to begin with. It's extremely laughable. Tianxing harumphed softly. Humph, seems like you're not stupid and can understand. Su Zimo was slightly stunned. That was an extremely rare hint of emotion in a statement from Tianxing. Stunned for a moment, Su Zimo could not tell if Tianxing was praising or mocking him. The logic behind it is extremely simple. Tianxing returned to normal before long and said indifferently, unfortunately, apart from you and me, no one else in the 100 people can understand. Su Zimo was silent for a moment before saying, perhaps it's not that they don't understand, but that they don't want to. Although it was a little ambiguous, Tianxing fell into deep thought. Reality was a little cruel. Therefore, everyone would avoid it instinctively and would rather advance with a sliver of hope. Do you know about the Emperor's tomb? After a while, Tianxing asked with a voice transmission. The Emperor's tomb? Su Zimo frowned slightly. I don't know. For some reason, the name sounded sinister. Tianxing said, the Emperor's tomb was originally a shattered world. It floated everywhere in the void currents of the upper world and its location was uncertain. Legend has it that an immortal emperor was buried inside. That's why it's called the Emperor's tomb. Su Zimo was shocked. The tomb of an immortal emperor. There are many legends about the Emperor's tomb. Some say that there are countless rare treasures, cultivation techniques and secret skills. Others say that there's a shocking secret hidden in the Emperor's tomb. Tianxing said, recently, the Emperor's tomb appeared in the void of divine Firmament mainland. I'm guessing that the hunting meet of Prince Yuanzhua might have something to do with this Emperor's tomb. Su Zimo said deeply. He wants us to enter the Emperor's tomb? Probably. Tianxing replied. A tomb that might contain an immortal emperor? Given our cultivation we can enter it at will? Su Zimo could not believe it. Logically speaking, even Earth Immortals and Heaven Immortals were not qualified to explore such a tomb, let alone them. If this was truly an emperor's tomb, it would be filled with treasures collected by the immortal emperor. It would not be in their place to head there. Tianxing said, this emperor's tomb is a little special. It said that the immortal emperor buried inside died under an extremely powerful curse. Curse? Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. In terms of curse techniques, the witch race was the strongest. Back in Tianhuang mainland, experts of the witch race of the upper world even descended to kill all living beings. Thankfully, Dai Yu intervened and resolved that calamity. If the rumors were true, the curse technique that could kill an immortal emperor must have been done by an expert of the witch race. Tianxing continued, after the immortal emperor died, the power of the curse in his body did not disappear. Instead, it spread in every corner of the tomb and lasted till now. How long has this immortal emperor been dead for? Suddenly, Su Zimo asked. Tianxing said, more than 10 million years. Su Zimo was secretly speechless. The curse in the emperor's tomb was way too terrifying and did not dissipate even after millions of years. Even an immortal emperor can't withstand the power of that curse. Wouldn't the 100 of us be courting death if we entered? Su Zimo sneered. No. Tianxing said, for millions of years, many people have entered the emperor's tomb to explore its secrets. The power of the curse inside is a little strange. The higher the cultivation realm of the cultivator, the greater the impact on them. In other words, such a curse is the most harmful to experts like immortal emperors? Su Zimo asked. That's right. Tianxing said, when the emperor's tomb first appeared, an emperor entered and was inevitably cursed as well. He died not long after he came out. Grotto Heaven Realm experts were kings. Above the Grotto Heaven Realm was the Emperor Realm. The most common title for an Emperor Realm expert was an emperor. Of course, in the 9 Firmament Immortal domain, most emperors were called immortal emperors, such as the divine Firmament Immortal Emperor. In the Great Wilderness, most of them were called demon emperors. Above emperors was the great emperor that Heavenly Wolf mentioned. Su Zimo was even more shocked. Such a curse could even kill other Emperor Realm experts after lasting for millions of years. It was hard to imagine how terrifying the person who laid that curse was. After that emperor died, no other emperor dared to attempt to enter. Tianxing continued, for millions of years, more than 20 King Realm experts have died because of the curse upon entering the emperor's tomb. The number of perfected immortals and heaven immortals that died within is even more unimaginable. Chapter 1966. Arriving at Green Cloud City. Chapter 1966. Arriving at Green Cloud City. Tianxing said, "It's precisely because of the terrifying curse of the Emperor's tomb that almost no perfected immortal or kings have attempted to enter the tomb in recent years. The higher the cultivation realm, the greater the impact of the curse." Su Zimo said deeply, "In other words, if a black immortal enters the Emperor's tomb, they will suffer the least damage from the curse." Indeed. Tianxing said, however, even if the damage caused by the curse is small, it doesn't mean that there isn't any. Every living being that enters the Emperor's tomb, no matter their race, will be tainted by the curse and no one can avoid it. Of course, that curse is not a fatal threat to black immortals. Su Zimo could tell what Tianxing was implying and asked, "What other effects will there be if there's no fatal threat?" "It's uncertain." Tianxing said, "If you can't remove the curse in your body, it'll be difficult for you to break through to the Earth Immortal realm for the rest of your life. There's a high chance that your lifespan will deteriorate and various conditions will happen to your body." Su Zimo gradually understood. It was no wonder why Prince Yuanzhua did not look for disciples of other sects or aristocratic families. That was because no sect or aristocratic family would send their personal disciples and descendants into the Emperor's tomb. If the curse could not be removed, it would affect a cultivator's life. There was a high chance that a paragon of a generation would die and fade into the masses. However, among the cultivators that ascended from the lower worlds, Prince Yuanzhua could casually choose 100 people for him to command and enter the Emperor's tomb. These cultivators of the lower worlds even had to be grateful to Prince Yuanzhua. Tianxing said, "Once experts like heaven immortals and perfected immortals enter the Emperor's tomb, they will be cursed and won't be able to return. Although we'll also be cursed upon entering the Emperor's tomb, we will be the least affected. Within, we can move freely or even fight. As long as we don't stay in the Emperor's tomb for too long, we can definitely return alive." Su Zimo asked, "Why does Prince Yuanzhua want us to enter the Emperor's tomb?" "I don't know about that." Tianxing shook her head gently. Su Zimo fell into deep thought. According to Tianxing, an immortal emperor was once buried in the Emperor's tomb. Notwithstanding the rare treasures and secret skills collected by the immortal emperor in his lifetime, even the perfected immortals and kings who died within had countless treasures. There was a high chance that Prince Yuanzhua wanted them to enter the Emperor's tomb to search for treasures or inheritances. However, no matter what, the Emperor's tomb was definitely a dangerous place. It was not only the strange curse. Now that the Emperor's tomb had descended on divine Firmament mainland, apart from them, there must be other exalted immortal experts who controlled black immortals to enter the Emperor's tomb to search for opportunities for them. Notwithstanding the other immortal regions, there were 3 immortal kingdoms and countless sects in the divine Firmament immortal domain alone. If they encountered other parties, a fight was inevitable. That was also the reason why Prince Yuanzhua spent so much effort to select 100 grade 9 black immortals who could fight well and were strong. Unless necessary, Su Zimo would not take the risk even after knowing about a secret like the Emperor's tomb. But now, he had no choice given the circumstances. The security on the immortal ship was not strict. However, even if he could escape, his spirit consciousness imprint was still on the hunting ranking. As long as Prince Yuanzhua willed, he could be found at any moment. That was a huge threat. It was as though Prince Yuanzhua was wielding a sharp sword that was hanging on his neck and could slash down at any moment. He had to think of a way to resolve this matter to prevent future troubles. As Su Zimo pondered, his gaze instinctively landed on Tianxing. If Tianxing's target was truly Prince Yuanzhua, the two of them could join forces. However, even if the two of them joined forces, it would be difficult for them to deal with Prince Yuanzhua. Su Zimo's spirit consciousness could only vaguely sense that Prince Yuanzhua was an Earth Immortal and could not clearly detect his level. Furthermore, Prince Yuanzhua had a noble status and the bloodline of King Jin flowed through his body. He had interacted with top-tier experts since he was young, and no one knew what trump cards he had. Moreover, Tianxing was prideful and operated alone. She might not join forces with him. "What are you thinking about staring at me for so long?" Suddenly, Tianxing's voice sounded in Su Zimo's mind. Her tone was unfriendly with a hint of anger. Su Zimo rubbed his chin and stared at her back for a long time. She thought that Su Zimo had some evil thoughts and could not help but feel frustrated. "It's fine." Retracting his gaze, Su Zimo replied casually and suppressed the matter for the time being. When Tianxing saw that, she thought that Su Zimo was feeling guilty and said coldly, "Indeed, I owe you a favor. However, let me warn you not to harbor any nonsensical thoughts." Su Zimo was confused and did not know what was wrong with this woman. Instinctively he asked, "What nonsensical thoughts?" "You." Tianxing was speechless. Gritting her teeth, she decided not to say anything more. The Immortal ship carried everyone at an extremely fast speed and arrived at Feng City, which was closest to Absolute Thunder City, in less than 3 days. Thereafter, everyone entered Feng City and made use of its teleportation formation to descend upon the central city of Green Cloud County, Green Cloud City. There were a total of 16 counties in the territory of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom, and each county had a central city. Typically, the princes and county governors would watch over the 16 central cities. The moment everyone arrived in Green Cloud City, they could sense that the atmosphere in the city was clearly not right and was extremely depressing. The city was heavily guarded. There were guards patrolling the city walls at all times. The cultivators in the city were flustered and averted their gazes in fear. Traces of execution guards could be seen everywhere in the ancient city. The impact of the Thunder Emperor's escape was gradually showing. As long as the Thunder Emperor was not captured, many people in the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom would not be able to eat or sleep in peace as time passed. Of course, no matter how guarded the ancient city was, no one dared to stop the carriage of Prince Yuanzhua. Su Zimo and the others rode on the Immortal ship and followed the carriage of Prince Yuanzhua. The journey was almost smooth and they arrived at the residence of the prince. Before the group of them had a chance to rest, a maidservant brought them to a hall. The hall was grand and resplendent with jewels and gems. It was unimaginably luxurious everywhere. Everyone entered the hall and looked around with shocked expressions, attracting exclamations. Su Zimo and Tianxing were extremely calm. It was Tianxing's nature. However, for Su Zimo, he was unimpressed. In terms of shock, the human emperor's palace that appeared in Tianhuang mainland was enough to beat this palace instantly. Before long, Prince Yuanzhua appeared and sat on the highest throne in the hall, looking down at Su Zimo and the others. The crowd quietened down before long. "If you want to follow me and stay by my side, you have to perform well." Prince Yuanzhua said slowly, "There's an opportunity as such right now. If any of you can contribute greatly, I'll make him my personal guard." Pausing for a moment, he gave an evil chuckle. "That person can even choose any of the beauties around me to be his Tao companion." Chapter 1967. Entering the Emperor's Tomb. Chapter 1967. Entering the Emperor's Tomb. The personal guard of Prince Yuanzhua. Among the 100 people beneath the main hall, many cultivators had fervent gazes. This was equivalent to a leap to the heavens and they would be completely free from their status as people of the lower worlds. From then on, no one in the upper world would dare look down on them. Although the beauties around Prince Yuanzhua were maidservants in name, all of them were at the Earth Essence realm and their cultivation realms were higher than theirs. Furthermore, those that could be fancied by Prince Yuanzhua were all peerless beauties. It would definitely be a rare blessing to have them as Tao companions. Hee hee. Li Tian laughed. "Your Highness, feel free to tell us what you want us to do. I'll definitely not disappoint you." "All right." Prince Yuanzhua was very satisfied and said in a deep voice, "There are various ruins and secret grounds in the upper world. Right now, a secret ground has appeared in the divine Firmament mainland. Due to the uniqueness of this secret ground, those with high cultivation realms will be restricted instead. Black Immortals won't be affected much when they enter. At that point, Su Zimo sneered internally. It was clear that Prince Yuanzhua was hiding the most critical piece of information. According to Tianxing, any living being that entered the Emperor's tomb would be cursed and no one would be spared. Black Immortals were merely affected less and could move freely within. Su Zimo observed for a moment. Among the 100 people in the hall, apart from him and Tianxing, everyone else had calm expressions. It was clear that they did not know anything about the Emperor's tomb and did not feel threatened. To be precise, it was not because these people knew too little, but because Tianxing knew too much. Be it the Thunder Emperor or the matter of the Emperor's tomb, those were extremely secretive matters. However, Tianxing knew everything. Su Zimo was curious about Tianxing's identity as well. This woman definitely had a powerful expert or faction backing her. Prince Yuanzhua continued, there are countless rare treasures, divine powers and secret skills buried in this secret ground. These are also great opportunities for you guys. Thank you, Your Highness. Many cultivators bowed hurriedly with delighted expressions. Prince Yuanzhua said, I can promise you that I won't lay my hands on any treasures or inheritances you obtain inside. However, I want something from this secret ground. No matter what method you guys use, you must get it back. Here it comes. Su Zimo thought to himself. This was the true motive of Prince Yuanzhua. Please speak, Your Highness. Everyone asked. It's a jade talisman. Prince Yuanzhua said slowly, I don't have any clues about this jade talisman. However, I'm certain that it's in that secret ground. Li Tian shouted, Don't worry, Your Highness. It's just a jade talisman. I'll definitely find it for you after exploring every single corner of the secret ground. Prince Yuanzhua nodded slightly and continued, In addition, you guys have to be careful when you enter the secret ground. That's because apart from you guys, there will be black immortals of other immortal kingdoms and sects searching for this jade talisman inside. Under such circumstances, it would be fine if they did not manage to find the jade talisman. However, if they did, it would definitely attract the killing intent of various factions. I'll have 2 old servants lead you guys into the secret ground this time round. Prince Yuanzhua waved his hand and 2 old men stood out behind him. One was fat and the other was skinny. They bowed to Prince Yuanzhua. We will definitely do our best and not let you down, Your Highness. Su Zimo's gaze lingered on the 2 old men. The 2 old men were also grade 9 black immortals. However, the auras released by the 2 of them seemed special. Your Highness, when are we entering the secret ground? Someone asked. We'll have to wait a little longer. Prince Yuanzhua said, Right now, that secret ground has just descended on divine Firmament mainland not long ago. Once the barrier of the secret ground is weak, I'll send you guys in. He waved his sleeves gently and a series of lights shone in the hall. On the ground not far away from everyone, a gigantic teleportation formation appeared. The formation patterns were mysterious and complicated, shimmering with a bright divine light. Su Zimo glanced at Tianxing. The latter stood in the crowd expressionlessly and motionlessly. As he had expected, it was almost impossible to assassinate Prince Yuanzhua. If Tianxing wanted to assassinate Prince Yuanzhua, the only possibility was to close in and make use of the sharpness of the dark daggers to complete the assassination. However, Tianxing did not even have the chance to get close to Prince Yuanzhua. If she could not make her move now, she could only follow everyone into the Emperor's tomb. However, they would definitely be cursed the moment they entered the Emperor's tomb. His green lotus true body was immune to poison and was also extremely resistant to curses. However, the green lotus true body had yet to grow to its peak. Right now, he was only a grade 9 green lotus true body. Even immortal emperors could not avoid the curse of the Emperor's tomb. Do you have a way to dispel the curse? Su Zimo sent a voice transmission to Tianxing. Yes. Tianxing only said a single word and did not reply. It's about time. Prepare yourselves. Prince Yuanzhua suddenly said. Under the lead of the fat and skinny old men, everyone entered the teleportation formation. After a while, a few maidservants at the side activated the teleportation formation. A blinding beam of light burst forth from the teleportation formation and enveloped everyone before soaring into the skies. Su Zimo felt his head spin and the scene before him tore and shifted continuously. After a long time, Su Zimo's feet sank and he landed on the ground once more. The moment he descended, Su Zimo frowned. The green lotus bloodline flowed through his body and he was extremely sensitive to the outside world. He could clearly sense a strange power enveloping him, seeping into his body and even his bloodline. Even the green lotus true body could not purge it. The curse of the Emperor's tomb. Tang Zi was not exaggerating. Even his green lotus true body could not defend against the power of the Emperor's tomb's curse. Su Zimo secretly took out a supreme black-grade dermic treasure from his storage bag. In the blink of an eye, the dermic treasure was covered in a layer of green spots and had no spirit chi. It was completely crippled. It was not only living beings, even dermic treasures could not escape the corrosion of the Emperor's tomb's curse. Su Zimo looked at the others. Tang Zi and the two old men had calm expressions. Tang Zi was long prepared and was naturally not surprised. As commanders, the two old men were already prepared to die upon entering the Emperor's tomb. Given their lifespans, they would not be able to live for long even if they were not tainted by the curse of the Emperor's tomb. As for the others, they gradually noticed something amiss as well. What happened? Is this the secret ground? I feel a strange power floating around. It's a little sinister inside here. The crowd discussed. Suddenly, the fat old man laughed with a strange expression and said coldly, "Congratulations on coming to the Emperor's tomb." The Emperor's tomb? What Emperor's tomb? Someone asked hurriedly with a frightened expression. The Emperor's tomb is where an immortal emperor was buried. The skinny old man said, "The only hope for you guys to survive now is to find the jade talisman as soon as possible. Otherwise, the longer you stay in the Emperor's tomb, the harder it will be for you to return alive." Chapter 1968. Dead King. Chapter 1968. Dead King. Buried Immortal Emperor. Those words were way too shocking for most of the cultivators present. Even though Su Zimo had long heard about the origin of the Emperor's tomb from Tang Zi, he felt an indescribable pressure now that he was truly here. It was an indescribable feeling that resembled the might of an immortal emperor. The immortal emperor had died for millions of years, but his emperor's might still existed. Everyone was only at the Black Essence realm. For them, entering the tombs and cave abodes of Earth Immortals and Heaven Immortals was definitely a rare opportunity. However, the tomb of an immortal emperor. Cultivators who could ascend to the upper world were no fools and could naturally tell that this tomb was definitely not a friendly place. Even if it was as Prince Yuanzhua had said and there were unimaginable treasures and inheritance secret skills, there would definitely be dangers that no one could endure. Since we're here, there's no harm in telling you guys that all of you are cursed right now. If you want to survive, you have to find the jade talisman as soon as possible. I'll lead you back to the prince's residence and His Highness will naturally step in to help you guys remove the curse in your bodies. The skinny old man said coolly. How do we return to the prince's residence? Suddenly, Su Zimo asked. The moment he entered the emperor's tomb, he realized that there were no exits. In the prince's residence, they made use of the power of the teleportation formation to break through the barrier of the emperor's tomb and enter this place. However, there were no teleportation formations in the emperor's tomb. The fat old man harumphed coldly. You don't have to ask about this. Once you find the jade talisman, we'll naturally have a way to take you back. Tang Zi's voice sounded in Su Zimo's mind. Even black immortals can't stay in the emperor's tomb for more than a year. Otherwise, even if they have extraordinary methods, they won't be able to remove the curse in their bodies. In addition, if you sense any commotion in this world, it means that the emperor's tomb has left divine Firmament mainland and is hidden in the void once more. At that time, we have to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, we'll float in the dark void with the emperor's tomb and lose track of time, winding up as a skeleton in this tomb. The fat and skinny old men led everyone forward. Everyone did not dare to move too quickly and looked around as they advanced. Su Zimo looked up. At the top of the firmaments, there were stars that shone brightly. This did not look like a tomb, but another world. In the starry skies, there were dilapidated gigantic beams that were built together. They were covered with ghastly green moss, and there were occasionally thick stone pillars that soared into the skies and stood upright on the ground. The beams and stone pillars were more like ancient structures from millions of years ago that had been destroyed by time. However, it was still extremely shocking. Compared to those ancient structures, everyone was as insignificant as specks of dust falling from above. The surroundings were silent without any signs of life or sound. The footsteps of everyone walking through the ruins echoed in their ears clearly. Everyone advanced for half a day without encountering any obstacles or danger. Some cultivators gradually relaxed. "What's that?" Suddenly, someone pointed ahead and exclaimed softly. In front of everyone, there seemed to be a figure sitting cross-D on the ground with his back facing them. His long hair draped over his shoulders and he wore a golden robe that shimmered. It should be a human, but I can't see through his cultivation. Li Tian frowned slightly and said in a deep voice. The skinny old man had an indifferent expression. "Everyone, don't be nervous. Almost all the cultivators who enter the Emperor's tomb now are black immortals." Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. The golden-robed man at the front should be a dead man. "Fellow Taoist, who are you? Why are you blocking our path?" A cultivator glared at the back of the golden-robed man and asked loudly. A moment later, the golden-robed man did not reply, and the cultivator's voice was the only thing that reverberated through the world. That person might have died a long time ago. From the looks of it, his cultivation was not weak when he was alive. The fat old man muttered. Everyone advanced carefully, not daring to get too close. "There are words on the ground." Jian Yu cultivated the Tao of the sword and glared at the ground in front of the golden-robed man with a sharp gaze. Everyone hurried forward and focused their gazes. "I'm King Feng Xian and I'm filled with fiend techniques that are unprecedented. To think that I would die trapped in this emperor's tomb today. How tragic. It's a pity that my cultivation techniques can't be passed down. It's truly a loss for the fiend domain and a great regret for the world." Although there were not many words, the content was extremely shocking. Tang Zi had once told Su Zimo that more than 20 kings had died in this emperor's tomb. To think that they would encounter a king realm expert immediately upon entering the emperor's tomb bureau, it was a fiend king of the fiend domain. Su Zimo could clearly sense that the breathing of many cultivators in the surroundings had turned heavy and their gazes were burning. Everyone's gazes landed on the storage bag on King Feng Xian's waist. Apart from the Fiend King's inheritance, there were many other treasures in a king's storage bag. It was clear that no one had touched the corpse of King Feng Xian. In other words, whoever could obtain the storage bag would be able to obtain the complete inheritance of a king. Su Zimo did not act rashly. He realized that the fat and skinny old men had no intention of advancing, as though they were not interested in King Feng Xian's storage bag. It was impossible for anyone to remain unmoved against the inheritance and treasures of a fiend king. There was definitely something strange about the reaction of the fat and skinny old men. Su Zimo looked at Tang Zi, who was not far away. Tang Zi had an indifferent expression as well and did not move forward. After a moment of silence, someone finally could not help but probe, "Senior, the storage bag of this King Feng Xian. His Highness said that he doesn't want any of the treasures in the Emperor's tomb. If you guys can obtain them based on your own capabilities, it'll be yours," the fat old man said with a smile. Initially, Li Tian wanted to step forward. However, his heart skipped a beat as he sensed a flash of mockery in the depths of the fat old man's eyes and stopped in his tracks. Although he looked boorish, he was extremely meticulous. On the other side, Jian Yu did not move either. The moment the fat old man said that, two cultivators could not hold it in any longer and charged forward to grab the storage bag on King Feng Xian's waist. Right as the two of them arrived beside King Feng Xian, before they could even touch the storage bag, a change happened. The two lines of words on the ground suddenly burst forth with a cold glint. They were extremely sharp and minced the two cultivators into a blood mist. Everyone was shocked. The entire process happened too quickly, and in the blink of an eye, the two cultivators were dead without a corpse left. The blood mist gradually floated down and seeped into the ground. The blood stained the mud and another line of blood-colored words gradually appeared. "If you want to inherit my fiend techniques, you'll have to die with me. Ha 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 ha." Through that line of words, everyone seemed to be able to see the contorted expression of King Feng before his death. He had no intention of leaving behind any inheritance. As a fiend king, he was buried here with endless resentment and only wanted to find more people to die with him. Unfortunately, he had not expected that after countless years, the might of the methods he left behind would decrease significantly. He merely killed 2 black immortals before the cold lights dissipated into the world. Chapter 1969, Food. Chapter 1969, Food. When the skinny old man saw that, he sneered. The people of the fiend domain have evil hearts and are ruthless. These are their methods. Xueqi sneered internally. Although the fat and skinny old men bragged of their immortal domain background, the two of them tempted others to step forward despite knowing that it was a trap set by King Feng. Their thoughts were probably even more vicious than King Feng, who was from the fiend domain. The trump card left behind by King Feng could only be considered as a weapon at most. What truly killed the 2 black immortals of the lower worlds was the bewitchment of the fat and skinny old men. Senior, there shouldn't be any danger now, right? A black immortal of the lower worlds asked carefully. I don't know about that, the fat old man said with a smile. No matter what, this was the corpse of a king after all, and his storage bag was right in front of them. There might be unimaginable treasures within. Everyone was indignant and unwilling to leave. A moment later, someone retrieved another dermic treasure from his storage bag and stood far away, controlling it to charge towards King Feng's storage bag. The moment that person's dermic treasure flew out, it lost its spirit chi before it even made contact with King Feng's corpse and fell to the ground with green spots all over its body. Ah! The person exclaimed softly. He had completely lost control of the dermic treasure. Xueqi had already known about this the moment he entered the Emperor's tomb and was naturally not surprised. The other cultivators were shocked. The skinny old man said coldly, I forgot to remind you guys not to use any dermic treasures in this Emperor's tomb. Any dermic treasure that's exposed will be corroded by the curse of the Emperor's tomb and turned into scrap metal. Someone frowned. In other words, we can only rely on our bodies, bloodlines, divine powers, or secret skills. Ha ha! Li Tian burst into laughter. That's perfect. I ascended after crossing the 3 of 9 heavenly tribulation. Let's see whose body and bloodline in this Emperor's tomb can compare to mine. Jianyu had a cold expression and remained silent. Ordinary sword cultivators would definitely specialize in body tempering. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to unleash the killing power of the sword Dao to its limits. As they discussed, someone sneaked behind King Feng and approached. In the blink of an eye, that person was inches away from King Feng. With a fervent gaze, that person reached out towards the storage bag on King Feng's waist with lightning speed. I've got it! The person was overjoyed and was about to open his storage bag to check for treasures when a fingertip-sized green ghost flame floated out from King Feng's corpse. When the ghost flame landed on the black immortal of the lower worlds, it swept through his body rapidly as though it had encountered strong wine. In the blink of an eye, the black immortal of the lower worlds burned with ghastly green flames and turned into a gigantic human-shaped fireball. Many cultivators retreated hurriedly to distance themselves. Oh! A tragic cry sounded from the fireball. In less than a few breaths, the tragic cries vanished and the flesh of the black immortal of the lower worlds was burned into nothingness by the green flames, leaving only a corpse filled with green spots on the ground. This time round, even Xueqi was secretly alarmed. Although he specialized in the Tao of flames, even he felt his heart skip a beat and his scalp tingle from the power contained in the ghastly green flames. If he was tainted by that flame, it would be difficult for him to survive. Humph, that's the curse ghost fire. The skinny old man said coldly, in this Emperor's tomb, the corpses of some experts can nurture cursed ghost fire that can burn flesh and incinerate essence spirits. This is just a small lesson for you guys. There are too many things in this Emperor's tomb that can kill you guys. Jianyu closed 2 fingers and conjured a sword art, slashing a sword beam at the storage bag on the ground through the void. Perhaps due to the passage of time or the corrosion of the curse of the Emperor's tomb, even the storage bag of a king could not withstand the sword beam and shattered instantly. Splash! The items in the storage bags fell to the ground. Everyone turned their gazes over. It had to be said that there were indeed many treasures in a king's storage bag. There were more than 10,000 dermic treasures and spirit treasures alone. They were stacked together and almost formed a small mountain. Unfortunately, those dermic treasures were filled with green spots and had lost their sentience. They were completely crippled. Some of the cultivation resources such as spirit stones in the storage bag lost their essence chi as well. For example, some elixirs were filled with curses and no one dared to consume them even if they were still effective. Many cultivators were disappointed. There were no treasures in the storage bag that cost 3 lives to open. "Let's go," the skinny old man said in a deep voice. Everyone followed behind the fat and skinny old men and continued forward. Zimo did not follow. Instead, he stood not far away and stared at the small mountain of dermic treasures and spirit treasures with a shimmering gaze. "What are you doing there?" the skinny old man asked with a frown when he realized that Zimo was not following him. Zimo did not even look at the skinny old man and replied casually, "You guys leave first. I'll take a look around and catch up to you guys before long." Humph. The skinny old man's expression darkened. "Don't blame me for not reminding you. If you get separated from us, you'll be buried in this emperor's tomb." With that said, the skinny old man led everyone forward and ignored Zimo. Suddenly, Tang Zi's voice sounded in Zimo's mind. "Are you thinking that there are way too few treasures in the storage bag of a fiend king?" "That's right." Zimo nodded slightly. Tang Zi sent a voice transmission. "King-level experts can condense grotto heavens. Their true treasures are nurtured in the grotto heaven and refined day and night. They won't be placed in storage bags." A look of realization flashed through Zimo's eyes. It was no wonder why he did not discover any grotto heaven spirit treasures. According to Tang Zi, treasures such as grotto heaven spirit treasures should be hidden in King Fengxian's grotto heaven. Tang Zi continued, "Even if King Fengxian is dead, we won't be able to open his grotto heaven given our capabilities. You don't have to try. Yes, you guys leave first. I'll be there soon." Zimo did not explain further. Apart from the fact that he was curious about the rare treasures in King Fengxian's storage bag, there was another important reason why he stayed. It was the small mountain of dermic treasures and spirit treasures before him. To others, those dermic treasures and spirit treasures were nothing but scrap metal. However, that was not the case for Zimo. To be precise, it was of great use to the hell suppression tripod. That was because after the storage bag was opened, the hell suppression tripod let out a long-awaited vibration. It was a sign that it wanted to devour and refine weapons. Although these weapons were tainted by the curse, the hell suppression tripod did not seem to care. To it, these weapons were food. They were just a little filthy. Zimo waited for the fat and skinny old men to lead everyone away. After disappearing from sight, he summoned the hell suppression tripod. Indeed. Although the hell suppression tripod was exposed in the Emperor's tomb, there were no green spots on its body. Even the curse of the Emperor's tomb could not taint the hell suppression tripod. Chapter 1970. Strange Lifeforms. Chapter 1970. Strange Lifeforms. Zimo was extremely cautious and did not advance rashly. Instead, he controlled the hell suppression tripod and approached the small mountain of dermic treasures in the distance. Indeed. The moment the hell suppression tripod approached the dermic treasures, a few more wisps of ghastly green ghost flames floated out from King Fengxian's corpse. The ghost flames seemed to possess some sort of sentience and would float out to incinerate any external objects that approached. Zimo controlled the hell suppression tripod and did not dodge. Instead, he charged towards the ghost flames. When the ghost flames landed on the outer wall of the hell suppression tripod, they were absorbed by the vermilion bird's sacred soul before the flames could spread and vanished. Boom! The hell suppression tripod continued forward and collided against the small mountain of dermic treasures before it. Instantly, the dermic treasures collapsed and scattered everywhere. A powerful suction force burst forth from the hell suppression tripod. Among the 10,000 dermic treasures, 1,000 weapons were selected and pulled into the hell suppression tripod. Those weapons were sentient dermic treasures. After a sentient dermic treasure passed through the heavenly tribulation, It would gain sentience and the material of the dermic treasure would transform. Even if it was crippled and lost its sentience, this scrap material was of great use to the hell suppression tripod. If he were to refine all the spirit treasures, there was a high chance he could repair the third wall of the hell suppression tripod. If he could repair the third tripod wall, not only could the third sacred soul awaken, the Prajna Nirvana Sutra would be even more complete as well. Whether or not Su Zimo could find the jade talisman for this trip to the Emperor's tomb, he had already gained enough by now. If not for this Emperor's tomb, who knew how long it would take to collect so many spirit treasures? An extremely terrifying heat burst forth from the hell suppression tripod and melted all the spirit treasures that were dragged in, turning them into red molten metal before long. Su Zimo discovered that there were also some strange green bubbles mixed in the molten metal. If he was not wrong, those green bubbles were the curse of the Emperor's tomb. With the curse of the Emperor's tomb, it might take even longer for the hell suppression tripod to refine and absorb all the spirit treasures. Su Zimo was in no rush. At the very least, there was no need for the hell suppression tripod in the Emperor's tomb for the time being. About 2 hours later, Su Zimo waited for the hell suppression tripod to devour the 1,000 spirit treasures before putting it away and chasing in the direction of Tianxing and the others. This time round, Su Zimo released his spirit perception and sped up. Before long, he caught sight of Tianxing and the others. Initially, there were more than 90 people when they parted ways. In just 2 hours, there were only slightly more than 50 people left in the group. Of the remaining cultivators, apart from Tianxing, the others were pale with fear, as though they had suffered immense shock. What happened? Su Zimo chased and asked with a frown. Someone gulped and said with lingering fear, "We passed by a White Bones ruin earlier on. Who would have thought that the White Bones would come to life and start a massacre? We can't defeat them and many of us died. Some of us were even hunted down by the White Bones and they're probably doomed." Most of the cultivators who died here were former experts. The corpses left behind would not rot for millions of years. If they were reanimated, even Heaven Immortals might not be able to defend against them, let alone Black Immortals. "I want to go back. I don't want to die." A cultivator clutched the wound on his abdomen with a pale expression. He was on the brink of a mental breakdown and muttered repeatedly, "You won't be able to return without me." The skinny old man harumphed coldly. "I don't want to continue walking or look for any jade talisman anymore. You guys can continue looking for it on your own," the person said with a horrified expression as he retreated, wanting to return the way he came. However, he had barely taken a few steps when his body began to stagger. Arching his body, he clutched his abdomen with both hands and let out a deep growl, as though he was enduring immense pain. Immediately after, the person fell to the ground and the blood flowing out of the wound on his abdomen turned green as his skin rotted. After a series of tragic cries, the person was unrecognizable and his life force was extinguished. The fat old man seemed to have a sense of trepidation as well. The corpses in the Emperor's tomb are stained with the curse of the Emperor's tomb all year round. Even an unassuming bone fragment is a great killing weapon. Anyone injured by those corpses will definitely die. Tianxing glanced at that person before retracting her gaze. Although she was still expressionless, she still felt her heart skip a beat when she saw that. "What happened?" Su Zimo sent a voice transmission. "How did those white bones come to life?" Tianxing said, "The Emperor's tomb is filled with the power of curses all year round. However, after millions of years of evolution, some strange living beings were born. These living beings are tiny and difficult to detect. Although they are extremely weak, they can attach themselves to the white bones and control them to fight. There were all sorts of things in the vast world. Many living beings were born in special environments and strange worlds. The living beings that Tianxing mentioned could survive in the environment of the Emperor's tomb. However, there was a high chance that they would not be able to survive a single day outside." After a moment of silence, Tianxing continued, "The greatest threat in the Emperor's tomb is not these strange living beings, but some ghost immortals." Su Zimo was shocked. Although this was the first time he heard about ghost immortals, he already had a rough understanding. Ghost immortals were similar to the otherworldly soldiers of Tianhuang mainland. These were cultivators who met with undeserved calamities or the descent of bad luck. As their vengeance, resentment and grievances accumulated over a long period of time, the ghost immortals would be condensed.
None of the experts who entered the Emperor's tomb was spared. It was clear how strong the resentment of those experts was.
Tianxing continued, the ghost immortals in the Emperor's tomb are even more terrifying because they are still tainted by the curse of the Emperor's tomb. We can't even touch them, let alone fight them. Su Zimo's expression turned grim. This Emperor's tomb was even more terrifying than he had imagined. If he was unlucky and encountered any ghost immortal, he might die here. The fat and skinny old men had grim expressions as well.
The two of them had not expected that they would lose close to half of their cultivators in less than a day after entering the Emperor's tomb. At this rate, it would be impossible for him to survive a month in the Emperor's tomb, let alone search for the Jade Talisman.
Everyone, follow closely. Don't act on your own this time round. The skinny old man glared at Su Zimo and said sternly. The fat old man determined the direction and led everyone forward. Before long, a green fog appeared in front of everyone and enveloped them. It's the curse fog. Run. The fat old man's expression changed starkly as he shrieked. Before his sentence was finished, Tianxing had already recognized the origin of the green fog and sped towards the back. In their panic, everyone moved as well. Chapter 1971. 7 Glow Immortal Ginseng. Chapter 1971. 7 Glow Immortal Ginseng. Everyone panicked and ran with all their might. They only stopped after running for more than 50 kilometers. The curse fog behind them had already vanished. The fat and skinny old man counted the number of people and realized that more than 10 people had disappeared. It was unknown if they were separated from everyone or devoured by the curse fog.
Their group had only entered the Emperor's tomb for less than half a day, and there were only slightly more than 30 of them left. They had suffered immense losses.
After half a day of encounters, everyone was fearful and even ruthless people like Li Tian and Jian Yu fell silent. No matter how strong they were only tyrants of the Black Essence realm. There were way too many things that could kill them in the Emperor's tomb.
What was that curse fog earlier on?
Some cultivators could not help but ask with lingering fear.
The skinny old man said with a dark expression, for various reasons, the curse of the Emperor's tomb gathered and materialized.
If you're devoured by the curse fog, the power of the curse will seep into your flesh, organs and marrow. Even if you can leave this place alive, you'll definitely die. Right now, everyone had just entered the Emperor's tomb. Although they were cursed, the power had yet to truly seep into their bodies.
That was also the reason why there was a chance to dispel it.
Let's go.
After resting for an hour, the fat old man rose and continued forward with the remaining 30-odd people.
Actually, Su Zimo had a chance to flee during the escape earlier on.
However, there was no need for him to act alone since the method to leave the Emperor's tomb was with the fat and skinny old men. Furthermore, the environment of the Emperor's tomb was complicated and dangerous and he did not know much about it.
If he followed the crowd and encountered danger, he would have a higher chance of surviving instead. What's that? Before long, a sharp-eyed cultivator pointed to an area in the distance and shouted. There was a glow in that area that resembled a gigantic mirror. There were even faint flashes of resplendent and strange lights on the mirror. Su Zimo's eyesight was strong and he had long seen that it was a gigantic lake. The lake water rippled and reflected some light, attracting everyone's attention. As for the resplendent light on the lake, he could not see it clearly due to the distance. Let's go take a look. The skinny old man said in a deep voice and led everyone in that direction. It's a lake. Some cultivators recognized it. There's quite a number of people over there. Before they arrived at the lake, everyone realized that there were many cultivators standing around the lake. They formed teams and distanced themselves from one another to form different factions. Su Zimo swept his gaze across. There were around 8 factions around the lake and their cultivation realms were similar. All of them were grade 8 or 9 black immortals. However, there were no recognizable emblems on the bodies of these cultivators and it was unknown where they came from. Before entering the Emperor's tomb, Prince Yuanzhua had already mentioned it. Apart from them, there were definitely other factions that entered the Emperor's tomb. They're just small sects and factions. There's nothing to fear. The skinny old man made a rough judgment and his expression softened. Let's go. Senior, these sects and factions don't have any emblems. How did you judge them? A cultivator asked. The skinny old man said proudly, any true major sect or faction that enters the Emperor's tomb will definitely not hide their tracks. Instead, they will reveal their unique emblems to intimidate others. As he said that, the skinny old man pointed to a black gold badge on his waist. There was a huge gene word on the badge. Look over there. People from the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom are here as well. I heard that apart from the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom, the other two Immortal Kingdoms sent people in as well. Not only that, I heard that the 4 immortal sects sent people into the Emperor's tomb with their own motives as well. Some cultivators around the lake recognized Su Zimo's group and whispered. Some cultivators seemed unwilling to provoke them and avoided them. The 3 immortal kingdoms ruled over territories in divine Firmament mainland and had kings respectively, possessing absolute dominance. Apart from the 4 immortal sects, no other sect or faction could go against them. The entire world belonged to the kings. Within the territory of the immortal kingdoms, all sects, aristocratic families, cultivators and living beings had to obey the rule of the immortal kingdoms and could not disobey. The cultivators around the lake recognized the identity of the fat and skinny old men, and were naturally unwilling to get into a conflict with them. Li Tian and the others had just experienced many dangers and were in a sorry state. Now that they found some confidence, they puffed up their chests instinctively and regained their vigor. Su Zimo and the others arrived near the lake and focused their gazes. In the middle of the lake was a lone island that shone with beautiful resplendent lights from time to time. Furthermore, a faint medicinal fragrance wafted over from the direction of the lone island. Could it be? The fat old man glared at the light on the island and suddenly exclaimed with widened eyes, "It's the 7-glow immortal ginseng." The skinny old man nodded repeatedly as well. It's definitely the 7-glow immortal ginseng. There's no mistake about it. To think that a 7-glow immortal ginseng would grow in this emperor's tomb. Furthermore, it's completely ripe and glows with 7 different colors. The fat and skinny old men were agitated and even lost their composure. Su Zimo could not help but send a voice transmission to Tianxing. What's a 7-glow immortal ginseng? This is one of the most famous immortal herbs of the upper world. Legend has it that once it ripens, it will emit 7 different glows and can even revive the dead. No matter how badly injured one is, they will recover completely. If a mature 7-glow immortal ginseng was outside, even perfected immortals and immortal kings would fight for it. After a brief pause, Tianxing continued, in addition, the 7-glow immortal ginseng can also increase a cultivator's lifespan. A look of realization flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. It was no wonder why the fat and skinny old men were so worked up. The two of them only chose to enter the emperor's tomb when their lifespans were almost up. If they could obtain the 7-glow immortal ginseng, they would naturally be free from the threat of lifespan exhaustion. Su Zimo also noticed something strange. Even the usually calm Tianxing's voice trembled when she described the 7-glow immortal ginseng. If what Tianxing said was true, an immortal herb as such was indeed a supreme treasure. Su Zimo was the green lotus truebody to begin with, and this immortal herb was of great use to him as well. However, he could still maintain his composure. The fact that the surrounding cultivators did not make any moves despite the appearance of such an immortal herb in the emperor's tomb was proof that it was not easy to obtain. Su Zimo's gaze landed on the surface of the lake. The lake water was clear and green. Even with Su Zimo's eyesight, he could not see what was beneath the lake. However, if there was danger, it was extremely likely to be in this lake. As he pondered, the fat and skinny old men had already calmed down and returned to normal. Surveying his surroundings, the skinny old man suddenly asked, "Who's going to retrieve this immortal ginseng?" Chapter 1972, Change. Chapter 1972, Change. None of the cultivators beside the fat and skinny old men replied. None of them were fools. Against such a treasure, the other sects and factions did not make any moves. Who knew what dangers they would encounter if they snatched the 7-glow immortal ginseng? The fat old man said with a smile. Her Highness said that apart from that item, the other treasures in the Emperor's tomb will belong to whoever can obtain them. This is your opportunity. The skinny old man added, "Don't worry, if you can obtain the 7 glow immortal ginseng, no other sect or faction will dare to lay their hands on it." Some cultivators attempted to reach the edge of the lake and looked at it intently. The lake water was calm and deep such that one could not see what was going on within. Even spirit consciousnesses could not penetrate it. A cultivator attempted to throw out a few rocks, creating a series of ripples on the surface of the lake. There was still no activity in the massive lake. When the other cultivators around the lake saw that, they used all sorts of methods to test the edge of the lake but to no avail. Finally, a cultivator could not hold it in any longer and leaped up, sprinting towards the lone island on the lake. That person's movement technique was extremely brilliant. Stepping on the lake water with his feet, he left a shallow mark on the surface of the lake at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, he was only half a step away from the island. There was no danger throughout the entire process. As for Su Zimo, he glared at the deep lake the entire time. His spirit perception could clearly sense that danger was approaching. When the other cultivators saw that, they could not hold it in either. If this person were to snatch the 7 glow immortal ginseng and devour it in one go, it would be a huge loss for them. Instantly, dozens of figures around the lake moved and released their movement techniques, speeding towards the lone island. Although black immortals could fly, it consumed too much essence chi. Therefore, most of the cultivators chose to speed on the surface of the lake and make use of the water's power to hold their bodies back. That way, everyone would have time and strength to react even if they encountered any changes. Sensing that the lake was dangerous, Su Zimo took a few steps back instinctively. On the other side, his expression changed as he noticed Tianxing walking towards the edge of the lake. She was staring at the lone island in the distance, seemingly moved. What is she doing? Su Zimo was curious. Right then, a tragic cry sounded from the direction of the lake and stopped. Su Zimo looked over and did not see what happened. What happened? Su Zimo asked with a frown. A cultivator at the side widened his eyes in disbelief and said slowly, "The cultivator at the front suddenly sank to the bottom of the lake and disappeared." When Su Zimo saw that the person wanted to speak but stopped, he asked, "What did you want to say?" The cultivator said hesitantly, "It's as though something in the lake dragged that person down." Ah! Right then, another tragic cry sounded from the lake. Su Zimo had been staring at the lake the entire time. This time round, he saw everything clearly. Suddenly, a black shadow darted out from beneath the lake and opened its mouth, devouring the legs of a cultivator before dragging him into the lake. The black shadow's gaping mouth was filled with extremely sharp serrated teeth. The moment the cultivator sank into the lake, a fountain of blood spewed out. The sudden change shocked the dozens of cultivators who were speeding on the lake, and their expressions changed. Those cultivators were rather sharp and stopped right away. Circulating their dermic arts, they soared into the air, wanting to leave the lake. However, before those cultivators could escape completely, black shadows tore through the surface of the lake and leaped out, devouring the cultivators in midair. This time round, all the cultivators around the lake could see it clearly. The black shadows were strange-looking fish. They were pitch black and had no eyes. Their tails were huge as they slapped the surface of the lake with a tremendous force, causing their bodies to leap into midair. Instantly, hundreds of the eyeless fishes broke through the surface of the lake and chased after the cultivators in midair. The teeth of the eyeless fishes were extremely sharp. Once they opened their mouths, their jaws would protrude in a menacing manner. Once bitten by the eyeless fishes, there was no way to escape. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 eyeless fishes devoured a cultivator until only a skeleton was left. The dozens of cultivators were way too close to the surface of the lake. The eyeless fishes leaped up from the lake, and many cultivators did not have time to dodge. Before long, they were devoured by the eyeless fishes and buried in the lake. I seem to have seen this fish in an ancient book. The fat old man at the side murmured with a wary expression. It said that for this fish, they only possess one of the 5 senses, smell. They are able to smell all sorts of life. Once other living beings enter their territory, they will attack in groups until they are torn apart and devoured. Swoosh! Right then, another figure appeared on the lake and sped towards the lone island in the middle. Above the lake, tragic cries sounded continuously and it was filled with blood. No one dared to take another step forward. Li Tian, Jian Yu and the others were pale as well and rejoiced internally. Thankfully, they did not act rashly. Otherwise, given their capabilities, they would not have been able to escape the pursuit of the many eyeless fishes. The appearance of that figure was extremely striking. There's truly someone who isn't afraid of death and dares to head up. This treasure is right in front of us after all. If we can risk our lives for such a huge opportunity, there's a high chance that we can experience a meteoric transformation. Humph. What's the point of a meteoric transformation if you can't even survive? Some cultivators sneered. It's Tianxing. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Earlier on, he noticed that Tianxing was moved. Furthermore, her emotions fluctuated unusually when she saw the 7-glow immortal Ginseng. He had not expected that Tianxing would ignore the danger and force her way through the lake towards the lone island. Of course, as an assassin, Tianxing had a good grasp of the opportunity to make a move. At that moment, the attention of the hundreds of eyeless fishes was on the dozens of cultivators in midair. As for Tianxing, she ignored the consumption of her essence qi and flew through the air. She was almost 90 feet high and crossed everyone's heads towards the lone island. Just as Tianxing was halfway through her journey, the surface of the lake splashed. At least thousands of black shadows broke through the water surface and chased after Tianxing, who was in midair. Pest! Many cultivators felt their scalps tingle when they saw that. Thousands of eyeless fishes broke out of the water and soared into the air. They managed to reach 90 feet and even higher. Instantly, Tianxing fell into danger. Ah! Suddenly, Tianxing opened her mouth and let out a long howl, releasing the sound of an immortal wail. Chapter 1973. Zephyr Thunderwings. Chapter 1973. Zephyr Thunderwings. Tianxing had a good plan. She wanted to make use of the burst of the immortal whale sound to fight for a chance of survival and break out of the encirclement. However, the eyeless fishes only possessed the sense of smell and no hearing. Although the burst of the immortal whale sound was strong, it did not affect the eyeless fishes at all. Tianxing's expression was unchanged as electric arcs burst forth from her body and gathered rapidly behind her, forming a pair of thunder wings. Boom! Boom! Amidst the lightning and thunder, Tianxing soared into the air once more at an extremely fast speed. Before the thousands of eyeless fishes surrounded her, she broke out of the encirclement and sped towards the lone island. 4 black immortals, even if they flew in the air, the height they could climb was limited and the highest was only 90 feet. However, with the help of her thunder wings, Tianxing was able to reach a height of more than 100 feet and her movement technique speed had even doubled. After obtaining the Thunder Emperor's inheritance, Su Zimo recognized at a glance that this was a secret skill of the Void Thunder Manual, the Zephyr Thunderwings. Cultivating the Zephyr Thunderwings was equivalent to obtaining the legacy of the Void Thunder Manual. Previously, Su Zimo had already vaguely guessed that Tianxing might be related to the Thunder Emperor. Now, his guess was confirmed. On the other side, the fat and skinny old men narrowed their eyes slightly with cold expressions when they saw that. The two of them exchanged glances without saying anything. Another ripple appeared above the lake after Tianxing released her Zephyr Thunderwings. Swoosh! Suddenly, the lake split open and a gigantic black shadow broke through the water surface. Like an anaconda that was dozens of feet long, it whipped towards Tianxing with a layer of mist. The black shadow was too fast and arrived almost instantly. When Tianxing used her Zephyr Thunderwings, her speed was extremely shocking as well. By the time she realized, it was already too late for her to dodge. Tianxing felt a large black shadow envelop her and could only prop up her arms and circulate her blood qi to defend. Compared to the black shadow, Tianxing looked extremely petite. Bang! There was a dull thud. Tianxing shuddered and lightning burst forth from her body as her blood qi surged. However, she could not withstand the tremendous force of the black shadow and was sent flying, falling from midair. She spat out a mouthful of blood. This clash caused a huge impact and shock to her organs. The Zephyr Thunderwings behind her were shattered by the black shadow and almost dissipated. What's that? It looks like the scarlet black squid. To think that such a ferocious demon beast would be nurtured in this lake. Splash! At the same time, The surface of the lake boiled and gigantic thick tentacles tore through the surface of the lake, chasing after Tianxing, who was in midair. On the tentacles were circular suction cups the size of basins that squirmed continuously in a terrifying manner. Instantly, hundreds of tentacles danced wildly in midair with a frightening might. The cultivators around the lake were scared out of their wits and retreated one after another, afraid that they would be sucked into the lake by the tentacles. The moment Tianxing fell, 1,000 eyeless fishes leaped up, wanting to devour her flesh. She could only barely hold on with her damaged Zephyr thunderwings. But now, she could not defend against the encirclement of hundreds of terrifying tentacles from the scarlet black squid. The hundreds of tentacles squirmed and almost formed an impenetrable space, trapping Tianxing within. Even though she was about to die in the beast's mouth, Tianxi's expression did not change much. However, she sighed internally. Sigh, I failed to obtain an utmost treasure of that level at the end of the day. A moment of greed cost me my life. I can't blame anyone. Countless thoughts flashed through her mind before she died. Let's go. There's no way we can cross this lone island with this scarlet black squid guarding it. Time to go. Many cultivators shook their heads. Although they were reluctant, they could only leave helplessly. Who is that? Right then, a cultivator caught sight of a figure flash past from the corner of his eye and charged towards the lone island. He truly has a death wish. How dare he charge over? Fufu, to think that someone would be so eager to die. Everyone sneered when they saw that figure. The fat and skinny old men's group quickly recognized that it was Su Zimo. When Su Zimo arrived at the edge of the lake, a pair of essence chi wings appeared behind him. Immediately after, an even wider pair of golden wings grew on the wings, shining brightly. Phew! 2 pairs of wings flapped and Su Zimo transformed into a golden streak of light. His speed was at its limits and had even surpassed the reaction of most of the cultivators present. What secret skill is that? It seems to be even faster than that woman's movement technique. The crowd exclaimed. Before the hundreds of tentacles were sealed, the golden light passed through a small crack and arrived beside Tianxing. It was you. Initially, Tianxing thought that she would definitely die. However, she did not expect Su Zimo to barge in as well. What are you doing here? Tianxing glared at Su Zimo. To pluck the 7 glow immortal ginseng, of course. Pausing for a moment, Su Zimo smiled. And also, to save you along the way. Are you crazy? Tianxing looked at Su Zimo as though she was looking at a lunatic. Didn't you see what happened earlier on? Even Earth Immortals can't defend against the power of this scarlet black squid. Hurry and leave. The 2 of them were surrounded by hundreds of tentacles in a cramped space that was almost sealed. There were only a few small gaps and the light was dim. Suddenly, their surroundings fell into darkness. There was no gap left in the space formed by hundreds of tentacles. Now there's no way to leave even if you want to. In the darkness, Tianxing lowered her head slightly and sighed. Suddenly, she felt her waist tighten and a strong arm wrap around her. Her body stiffened. If it was any other time, she would have killed him long ago. However, at that moment, she was in despair. At the thought that the 2 of them were about to be buried here, she let this man's rude actions go. Let's go. Right then, Su Zimo's voice sounded in her ears. Swoosh. Tianxing felt her vision blur, as though space was in chaos. She lost track of time and light reappeared. Composing herself, she focused her gaze and could not help but freeze on the spot. The 2 of them had already broken free from the encirclement of the scarlet black squid and arrived above the lake. It's that secret skill. Tianxi's eyes lit up and she reacted quickly. Back in the 10 absolute hell, she tried to assassinate Su Zimo, but he seized the initiative because of this unpredictable secret skill that was almost like teleportation. Su Zimo hugged Tianxing and the rock wings behind him flapped. With a flash of golden light, he covered 500 kilometers in the blink of an eye and left the scarlet black squid behind. By the time the scarlet black squid beneath the lake reacted, Su Zimo and Tianxing had already arrived on the lone island. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.